Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching What If Naruto Was Trained by a Soldier from Another World. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The mob pursuing young Naruto yelled, "Kill the demon today, we will revenge our family's die demon." Why? Why did they always chase him when something happened? Why did the entire village despise him? He was unaware. He wanted to know, but he didn't know. What did he do? Perhaps if they tell him to make things better, he could apologize. However, they never informed him. Never. He always tries to hide in front of them. He stopped as he entered the next alley. He was only able to say, "Shit, dead end," before the villagers caught him. They began to approach him, gradually, slowly retreating into the alley. Naruto readied himself for another thrashing. "Today we will revenge everyone you killed, demon, prepare to die." He was aware that he wouldn't make it through today. The villagers today were ravenous for his blood, and it appears that the majority of Anbu retreated as well. Presumably in order to witness his demise, Naruto closed his eyes slowly and got ready to beat. One of the villagers leapt and struck Naruto in the head with the stick he was holding. After shouting, Naruto anticipated suffering, but it never materialized. When his eyes opened, he heard the words, "You know it's not nice to kill or hurt small child." Prophet bought some equipment and moved into a small store on the street. All he accomplished during his 2 weeks on this planet was to blend in with 2 small villages and the one where he was now. Furthermore, he had no idea how he got to be here after being flung into the cargo area of an alien spacecraft. He recalled waking up in a rice field on the outskirts of a mountain village. Although the villagers were friendly, they lacked any information that would have allowed him to locate himself. In order to find out how he understood the village hidden in leaves, they advised him to go try his luck in Konoha no Sato, and there he is. What a strange name. Village hidden in leaves. He thought Prophet purchased some knives and throwing knives, known as kunai, in this area. As soon as he walked into the store, it had a sharp edge, a hilt on the grip, and an odd ring on one end. Nothing like a pistol or scar, but it was all he needed. I saw the Prophet when that alien thing grabbed him and pulled him into the jungle. Both of his pistols and his scar rifle exploded. Finally, he made it through it. He also inquired about the village leader. As he was leaving, the man simply stared at him before responding that a man named Hokage had called. Prophet thanked and walked out of the store without giving it any thought. He paused outside and began to consider, "Give me a cover story, since the Raptor team is the US Army's top secret. Even if he put me on lie detectors, I doubt that so-called Hokage would believe my account of it." The Prophet then began to make his way slowly to the Hokage tower. Abruptly, he saw a big crowd pursuing a small child and heard someone yell, "Die!" What the devil? Which creatures would seek to murder a young child? "That's it, I'll assist that child." Claiming to be in cloak mode, Prophet crept to the end of the crowd. The crowd abruptly stopped and turned to face the child. That kid is in a dead end. Before one of the villagers jumped on the child, the Prophet thought, "I must act now." Prophet used strength mode, leapt ahead of the villager, and grabbed the stick the villager was holding. The entire village gaped at Prophet, thinking at once, "Who the hell is that man and why is he gloving red?" Prophet said, "You know it's not nice to kill or hurt small children," before anyone could respond. Everyone stared at him in shock. After that, did he see the child as a child and not a monster? What makes him a demon? One of the villagers declared, "He is not a child, he is a demon." He heard the crowd say, "He killed mine daughter." That was all the Prophet asked. "Do you possess any evidence?" The villagers' mouths were shut. "Now pay close attention, I'll make you leave now if you don't." That caused the mob to flee. Naruto was turned on by Prophet, who said, "Hey kid, how are you? What is your name, by the way?" Naruto? "Well, I don't have a name, but you can call me Prophet anyway. Why did they attack you?" "Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm okay." Prophet, Naruto Sandame, and 2 Anbu squads arrived with the statement, "I don't know why they always attack me when something happens and never tell me why. Are you okay, Naruto?" asked Hiruzen. "I'm okay, GG, Prophet saved me." The Prophet looked at Sandame, then at Anbu, and then back at Sandame. "Thanks, stranger, I owe you for saving him, but may I ask, who are you?" He said, "Well, it depends on whether you believe my story or not, but first, may I ask, which country am I in?" "Well, you're in High no Kuni of elemental countries, currently in a village hidden in leaves." Then Prophet was struck. Since neither fire country nor elemental countries are on Earth, aliens must have somehow managed to send him into another space line. Hiruzen stared at Prophet with his mouth open and his eyes nearly popping out of his socks after he realized, "I don't have a name, only a code name, Prophet. I'm commander of Team Raptor, US Special Forces, but it seems that on one mission I was accidentally sent into another universe, yours universe." Prophet turned to him and said, "You're telling me that you are not from this universe? Do you have any proof? Did you see somewhere suit like this?" He then switched the Nano Suit into armor mode. After switching to speed mode, Sarutobi appeared to be about to burst out of his socks once more. Well no. So okay, I trust you in that. To another matter, why did you help Naruto? He was attacked and without proof of crime. Plus it wasn't right to attack small kid, and even if I know him only for short time, I like the brat. Following Sarutobi's chuckle, both men laughed briefly before returning to their seriousness. Well, it's just Naruto always finding his way into others' hearts. We use chakra to maintain techniques, genjutsu, and taijutsu. Well, Prophet, what are you going to do now? Sarutobi asked. I don't know, maybe I will travel a little around here to find how things are working in this universe and other things. But first I want to ask, how are you fighting here? Prophet sighed and asked. Is there any chance I could locate a gun or firearm here? Well, I don't believe so. I actually heard the term gun for the first time. What is it? It's a mine world weapon that uses projectiles and shells with gunpowder to shoot projectiles at targets at high speed, the Prophet said. Cursing, with the exception of extremely thick materials and the strongest metals, it can penetrate through nearly any material and has a very long range. Are you planning on making it? Yes, I have plans to make normal pistols, shotguns, and Scar assault rifles. Fire Shadow suggested. Perhaps our scientists and technicians can make it if you have plans. If you don't mind, I'll sketch it on paper. However, I doubt you will do it for nothing. Am I correct? Special Soldier said. Yes, there will be a cost actually. The only thing I ask is that you teach Naruto how to use those weapons and take him with you when you travel. Do you know how to control chakras, by the way? The old Hokage replied. In response, the Nano Soldier said, no, I'm not sure how to use it. Why? Well, given that you claim to use gunpowder as ammunition, I can assume that the weapon isn't particularly quiet. Additionally, if we teach you how to use chakra, we might be able to create those weapons out of metal that absorbs chakra, and you might be able to create projectiles out of chakra. Additionally, you can fire a lot of projectiles in a short period of time if you exhibit a high degree of control. Prophet gazed at man in amazement. How can you fire so many projectiles without changing clips or using a Gatling gun? Dream of every soldier. He finally replied, all right, I'll learn how to use chakra and I'll do it. However, once more, I doubt it will if nothing is returned. Hokage laughed. I believe I now understand why you led your shinobi group. You have keen senses. Yes, I will want to return. I'll give you some jutsu scrolls to teach Naruto in the upcoming years, as well as some scrolls about chakra control exercises to use while you're traveling in order for Naruto to attend the upcoming academy graduation exam. I also want you to return to the village in 5 years. Do you approve of it? Yes, I think that's fair, but don't you think Naruto has made a significant decision in this as well? Prophet answered. What do you think, Naruto? Would you like to go with this man? Hiruzen turned on Naruto. Naruto gave him a bright smile and said, it would be wonderful, old man. He says he doesn't mind because he saved me from those fucking villagers. Yes, I would like to go with him. Hokage turned back on Prophet and went on, all right, we can do it since Naruto is cool with it. In addition to sending someone with scrolls to sketch your weapon plans and the estimated time needed to make them, I will send one Anbu to accompany you to a location where you can stay and introduce yourself. Thank you. I'm grateful. We'll probably need some supplies as well. It can wait, though. As soon as your people with scrolls arrive, I will start making plans. Thank you. As I have a lot on my mind today, I will talk to you about the supplies tomorrow. I'll also introduce you to your chakra control teacher, the Hokage said. Sarutobi then left one Anbu with Prophet and Naruto and returned to his office to finish his paperwork with his greatest enemy. Prophet glanced at the Anbu a little to see who she was. She had a cat mask, a standard Anbu uniform, long purple hair, and a katana strapped to her back. Well, it's their problem if they let women into special forces, Prophet thought. After a brief introduction to Naruto, the Prophet drew on scrolls from Sandame plans of guns and sent them to their weapon scientists. Well, mister, since I will take you into your apartment, you can call me on our small tour. Neko, said Neko calmly. Okay, Neko, lead the way, replied the Nano Suit soldier. They eventually arrived at a house in the Anbu part of the village. He replied that he didn't know and that the Hokage would tell him tomorrow. When he asked how long it would take to make the man with scrolls, the Prophet then decided that it was time for him and Naruto to go to bed. You know, Lord Hokage, when Neko led us to the apartment, I noticed that villagers are sending hateful looks to Naruto, said Prophet, who was in the Hokage office talking with Hiruzen. Tomorrow, are you aware of why? Prophet said slowly, it's not normal to hate a 7-year-old kid so much. Hiruzen now had a dejected expression and said, I understand why. However, Naruto will let me tell you because it's a classified S-class secret and you've only taken a blood oath to keep it to yourself. The reason is that on the day of Naruto's birth, he attacked 9-tailed demon Kaobi no Yuko, he added, receiving a nod from the Prophet. Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato, his father, was forced to encase his infant son Naruto in the beast. Is Naruto aware of this? No, he is unaware of this. Additionally, I would like you to share with him your journey about Kaobi and his heritage. Sarutobi then handed the prophet scroll with the blood seal on it, saying, I also got information that your weapons will be finished in a month, so when it's ready you can start your journey. It's all explained in this scroll with seal. The man in the office, wearing a blue shinobi pants, a Chunin vest with 6 pockets, a hite 8 on his forehead, and a scar across his nose beneath both eyes, interrupted Sarutobi as he was about to say something more. I see you've already arrived. Iruka, let me introduce you to Amino Iruka, your Charka control teacher. Prophet. After receiving nods from both Iruka and Prophet, Sarutobi dismisses them and goes back to his paperwork. This is Prophet. Iruka, I want you to teach him how to use Charka within next month. Over the course of the month, Prophet gradually learned how to control chakra, and he surprisingly quickly gained control of it by the end of the month. Prophet was able to climb trees and walk on water. Iruka also gave him some scrolls that included additional exercises and some academy techniques that Hiruzen wanted him to teach Naruto, as well as some scrolls that included more complex techniques. He was crouching on the edge of the training grounds at the moment, firing his newly upgraded Scar rifle quickly into a small paper target across the clearing. He moved to the target after stopping and checked the accuracy of his new weapon, but he was taken aback to discover that he had missed only 8 shots out of a 32-round clip. He then turned to face the Hokage, saying, Well, Hokage-sama, it appears that your mechanics are proficient in their jobs. Your men's rifle is superior to those from the majority of the top factories in the United States. Thank you. Bowed deeply, Prophet. A.N. Yes, he did learn their manners from Iruka when she taught him how to use chakra, but he isn't relying on sensei issues or anything like that. I'm happy, Prophet. Based on my observations, Naruto will be a lethal force to be reckoned with once he has finished his training. Heck, I'm sure I'll have trouble handling him, Sarutobi said. I hate to say it, but given your speed, he will require an additional 5 or 6 years of training before he can use a rifle and a pistol as proficiently as I can. Prophet retorted, After all, I spent nearly half of my life in special forces. Well, putting it that way will only benefit him because he will also become a shinobi. Alright, now that everything is packed and you have your weapons, you can begin your journey early tomorrow. Prophet. Have a good day. I'll see you at the gate tomorrow morning. The elderly man departed. After packing his new weapon, Prophet went to his apartment, where he discovered Naruto staring out the window at the Hokage monument. What's wrong, kid? He inquired. After glancing at him and the monument once more, Naruto replied, No. He pointed to the monument and said, I wanted to be there so the villagers would recognize me. I'm just thinking about why I wanted mine head there. However, I now believe that I want to be present to safeguard those who will recognize me and mine future valuable individuals. Well, Naruto, I'm proud of you as one of my students. How are you thinking about it? It appears that you began using your brain as well. Prophet laughed and ruffled his hair. Hey, quit it. Additionally, I was never stupid. It was just a front to trick the villagers because, as they say, it's better to be foolish and defeated than intelligent and dead. I knew from the start that they would kill me if they found out that I could use my brain. Irritated Naruto, and Prophet laughed back. You seem to have used your brain from the start. Kid, I'm sorry. I'll stop chit-chatting now and head to bed. We'll need it because we're leaving tomorrow for 5 years in a row. He then went to his bedroom. The following morning, before the gate, Naruto glanced at the monument once more and thought, Watch me, Konoha. For me, after 5 years you will see the new Hokage. He then turned to face Sarutobi and said, Take care of yourself, old man, and watch Konoha for me. If you allow the village to be destroyed, you cannot become the next Hokage. Don't worry and good luck. Naruto. Hiruzen turned on Prophet and said, Good luck to you too. You will find Konoha in better shape than when you left. I hope you have a trouble-free journey, Prophet. I don't know and don't care. The Prophet simply shrugged. I led a happy life, and I won't care if I pass away while driving. It won't matter anymore because my family on Earth believes I'm dead and I don't have any here. However, I appreciate your care. He then turned on Naruto and yelled, Come on, kid, let's go. Goodbye, old man. Goodbye, Lord Hokage. Goodbye both, and with hope see you in 5 years. Both turned and began to walk. Hokage then turned and left for his office. However, he was thinking that Naruto and Prophet had only been gone for 5 minutes and that he already missed the loud-mouthed blonde. He saw a blue-haired girl, and his only thought was, Naruto-kun, where are you going and when will I see you again? It was another bright morning in Konoha, and Izumo and Katetsu were once more asleep on guard duty when a stranger appeared from the nearby forest. He had blonde hair, blue crystal eyes, and whisker-like birthmarks on each cheek, but they were hidden under the hood of his black cloak. He was wearing a black cloak with red flames on it, a golden 9-tailed fox in the back, and kanji for a demon fox. He was wearing black ninja boots on his feet, along with black cargo pants, a black shirt, and fishnet underneath. As he walked to the gate, the stranger thought, I wonder if they still remember me. It will be nice to see old man after all those years. Who knows how he will react when he hears what we countered on road. Kit, I'm sure they will after all. Who could forget those pranks you were able to pull? I still can't believe you were able to overrun Anbu Hill. I think that when you show Hokage some of those things you developed, he will put them into Anbu equipment. Those flashbangs of yours are nasty things if you don't know what they are. I know, Yoko. I know. Let's just hope they won't try to kill me again, because they won't survive it now. He now stood in front of the gate, knocked on it, and waited for someone to open it. Izumo asked, Who are you and what business do you have in Konoha? After waking the gate by knocking on it and slowly making his way to the window. My code name is Yoko, but my name is not of concern to you, Yoko responded. Wait, I don't know about any deal like that, and for business here I return home as was dealt by mine sensei and Sandame Hokage. Don't surprise me, Izumo said, adding that as the gate guard, I should be aware of it. After all, the entire village detested me, so that deal was made in secret. But enough of the small talk. Will you let me in, or will I have to go in by myself? Yoko said plainly. Izumo went a little pale, but he shook his head and said, I don't advise going into the village by yourself, because I'll notify Anbu if you do. Yoko just shrugged, leapt over the gate, and fled toward the Hokage tower. And no, I won't let you enter the village. I need first evidence about the deal you made with the Hokage. When Izumo saw it, he nearly jumped out of his skin and called Anbu, saying, Shit, I never thought that kid who looked on 12 could jump across gate. When 3 shuriken approached from his left side, Yoko stopped, turned to look at the Anbu squad, which was led by a woman with long purple hair and a cat mask. He thought, well, Neko-san, it looks like we're meeting again. I know you wanted to test her prophet, and it looks like we have a chance here. Yep, you're right. Let's see what tricks got Neko in sleeve. I wanted to know it long time, said another voice in his head. As she and the other member of the squad prepared to attack if Yoko resisted, Neko said, Surrender and we won't harm you. Sorry, but I must see the Hokage, she said. Thus, I will not accompany you, Yoko declared before leaping onto a different roof. Yoko ducked a shuriken thrown by Anbu on his left side and stopped a sword aimed at his gut by Kanai, who slipped from his sleeve. He stopped at another roof, made a hand sign, and the next thing ABNU knew, 4 Yokos were standing there, running in different directions. Neko and the second member ran after him, and the rest of the squad split and followed from both sides. He attempted to dodge, but his feet slipped at the edge of the roof, and he and Neko fell to the alley. Will you stop now, or have I to make you? Neko added more chakra to her feet and leapt at Yoko. Neko inquired. You really don't remember me, Neko-san? Yoko inquired. Neko, perplexed, said, You know me? She looked at Yoko and thought, he seems to be 12, so it means when I met him he was 7. Him who I met when he was 7 5 years ago. Wait, no, it can't be him. It can't, or can it be him? Yes, I met you 5 years and 1 month ago. Now, was Neko completely lost? Who had she met 5 years ago? Well, it seems you finally figured it out, but please don't tell it to anyone. I need to speak with the old man first. And hopefully he will understand that Yoko didn't attack village from his own will, said a chibi. Yoko holding a banner with the words, Bingo, written on it. Neko nodded and said, All right, you can go on. Since I know who you are, I'll return to headquarters and call my squad back. See you next time, kid, and don't push us to chase you this time at last. She then leapt back onto roofs and went to the team meeting spot, instructing them to run back via radio while Naruto continued to the office. Sarutobi Hiruzen was sitting in his office, buried in a mountain of his eternal enemy and bane of all Kage's paperwork, when he was interrupted by a knock. Enter, he said without turning to the paperwork, while Neko and her team were pursuing Yoko. Who are you and why are you here? Hokage asked, looking up as doors opened and Yoko entered the office. Yoko feigned anger, saying, Old man, I'm hurt. I know you don't have any requests for missions because we accept missions from 8:30 and now it's only 7 o'clock. Even though I'm only 5 years away, you managed to forget about me in that time. Since it appears that no one will miss me, I'm heading out once more. Goodbye. He turns around and plays the part about leaving. NN Naruto, is that you? Sarutobi asked Yoko, looking at her in disbelief. Yoko nodded, and he went on, My boy, you look different. I apologize for not recognizing you, but I thought you would be with Prophet rather than by yourself. Where is he, by the way? A disease he contracted on the ship he was thrown into during his kidnapping caused him to pass away approximately 6 months ago, but he put his Nano Suit on me before he passed away. We upgraded it during our journey, by the way, Naruto said with a hint of regret. Hiruzen said, Well, Naruto, I apologize for Prophet, but you claim that Prophet put his suit on you. Does that imply that you can use it and possibly give it to someone else if necessary? What do you mean by suit upgrade? He inquired. So, to answer your first question, old man, I can use a nano suit and, if I train someone, I can pass it on to them. However, as a prophet, I will only pass the suit or put it down when I die. Additionally, if you're considering sleeping in it, we made a seal that, when inactive, will conceal the suit so that nobody can see it and there are no issues. And by upgrade, I meant that we set up the suit so that the strength and speed modes are always there. We also managed to make the suit run on the wearer's chakra rather than having limited energy. However, it can occasionally be just as taxing as the shadow clone technique. Therefore, it is recommended that only shinobi with final standard Chunin chakra reserves wear it. Are you telling me, Naruto, that you possess standard Chunin's chakra reserves? The Hokage said. The old Hokage slipped his breath and said, I have at last cage-level chakra reserves. Hiruzen nearly choked. Nah, old man, I don't have Chunin chakra reserves. What? Why am I so shocked? He cried. You're behaving as though I'm not the son of Yellow Flash of Konoha and that I don't possess sealed Kaobi. It makes sense that my chakra reserves are so large. Hell. I read in a book that my father had mid-Chunin chakra reserves at the age of 10, said a straightforward Naruto. I apologize, I must have forgotten about it. In any case, are you aware of Kaobi and your parents? Are you not upset about it? Carefully, Hokage asked. No, you don't have my ire. I am aware that Kaobi being abducted or killed by enemy ninja is a serious enough matter. A one-way ticket to hell is also guaranteed when father and mother's enemies are added. Thus, I get it, Naruto said. It should be noted that old man Yoko did not attack the village on his own initiative. From what he claims, Uchiha Madara trapped him in genjutsu, said the blonde with whiskers. You're telling me, Naruto, that Uchiha Madara is still alive? How come he's even accountable for Kaobi's attack? And you're really talking to Fox on top of that? The Hokage said. Yes, you are aware that Yoko is not as bad as he claims. Did you really know that he aided mom in escaping the Iwa shinobi's capture during the war? Simply blonde shrugged. So that's why Kushina escaped and why she was so strong. Because she and Kaobi worked together. Seems that even the smartest of mankind can be fooled, Sarutobi said, staring at Naruto with wide eyes. Well, that's new for me. The second voice from his mind now revealing itself as prophet said, Naruto, don't you think that Hokage needs to know that my mind somehow survived in suit and that you're capable of speaking with me? No, he doesn't need to know. It better keep it secret so no one will expect from me to pull stunts like you like to use. Alright, Naruto, may I ask what weapons you can use now that you're a soldier in a nano suit? Hiruzen inquired. Well, old man, as I think you know, I can use both pistols and rifle you made for profit. Naruto pointed to the first two seals on the storage scroll after he simply took it out of his cloak-clad pouch and unrolled it, exposing the final 7 or 8 sealed areas. However, we received some new toys because Prophet or I developed the rest during our trip. For instance, we succeeded in creating a brand new weapon known as the sniper rifle. He opened the sniper and showed it to the Hokage. It is used for long-range attacks and fires a single shot with great strength. It appears risky. How far can you shoot it? Sarutobi, observing the sniper, inquired. The thought of it made Hiruzen shudder. Okay, now to another weapon. I can hit person into head across village with it. Shotgun is the name of this one. It is a close-quarters weapon that fires short-range bullets into a cone area since it can break through a 15 centimeters thick piece of wood at close range. It was frequently used in Prophet's world as a weapon to rid homes of enemy resistance, Naruto said, unsealing the shotgun and sealing the sniper. Alright, I have total faith in you on this one. What's another, then? Hokage said. Naruto replied, well, next are mine combat knives. He unsealed his blades, which resembled knuckle dusters but had a sharp edge as long as a fist and sharp spikes on top. There was also no metal between the handles for better grip. Think of Ulax from Riddick. These babies are called Ulax. You can probably imagine how they operate. After receiving Hokage's nod, he sealed Ulka's once more and opened the pile of lemon-like objects, which he called a frag grenade. It's very easy to use. Remove this ring from the grenade and toss it in the location where you must detonate it. It is filled with various chemicals, including gunpowder. You must act fast after activating it because you are aware that it is set to 5 seconds. It functions similarly to explosive tags, but it doesn't require tying to kunai, and when it explodes, the covers are hot, sharp shrapnel. It's a pretty nasty thing. After being blown in the face, one man was nearly reduced to bloody pulp. Hokage paled at the idea of being reduced to bloody pulp by a single explosion. Well, Naruto, it's helpful, but I have to ask that you use frags sparingly. We can't let someone get lost. As he began to unseal something resembling frag grenades, Naruto replied, don't worry, old man, I also don't like them. Now that's something I like, Naruto laughed. The short flash or flashbang grenades are what these are. Since this is the safest to use, I'll show you the results. Okay? Naruto inquired. Naruto grabbed a flashbang, turned to the doors, activated the flash, and threw it to the Hokage after Hiruzen nodded. After a minute or so, Hiruzen's sight turned white and he heard a grating screeching sound, and Hokage inquired, what was that thing? That resulted from the flashbang. Anyone who looks at it is blinded by the light beams it emits. Did you also hear some obnoxious screeching? It was a flashbang effect as well. It completely confuses anyone who sees it, Naruto said. Naruto, are you planning on making it? Hokage inquired. Yes, but why? Well, I want to incorporate it into the Anbu apparatus, Fire Shadow explained. It gives almost life and death differences on missions. Naruto erupted in laughter, asking, what makes you so funny? Nothing, old man, it's just that Yoko told me you would love flashbangs, Hiruzen said, and both of them started laughing. I see that you have a good collection of weapons. Naruto, do you have any suggestions for additional weapons? Sarutobi inquired. I have some plans to make a C4 bomb, old man. Its bomb can be placed anywhere and, if done correctly, will explode after a predetermined period of time. It functions similarly to explosive tags, but it can be programmed to detonate for up to 3 times as long as an explosive tag. Additionally, you can detonate it on your own if you have the necessary technology, Naruto retorted. That sounds helpful. However, I must ask that you let me know when you plan to test it, requiring Hiruzen on it, he said. I can't afford to have parts of the village accidentally blow up. Naruto nodded in agreement. So, what took place while you were away? Well, aside from assisting rebels in Kiri to overthrow Yondaime Mizukage, assisting Godem Mizukage in taking his place, and eliminating nearly all of the most formidable bandit groups in both Fire and Waterland. Not much, thought Naruto. Mizukage was mentioned to me, Hiruzen said, but I haven't heard about you or Prophet being there. Well, I was able to talk to Yoko and beat him because Mizukage was Jinchuriki. Following that, we agreed with Mei that we would spread a false narrative about it instead of telling the truth, Naruto remarked. Hiruzen started to say something, but a knock on the doors cut him off. Enter. A few Chunin came into the office and declared, a meeting of the Hokage-sama Council has been called. I was sent to let you know about this. Wanna tell Council about your return, Naruto? Sarutobi asked, nodding and turning to face Naruto. Well, I don't see why not, Naruto said with a shrug of his shoulders. They will only argue later, so it's best to tell them now. Yes, it is true. All right, let's go, Hokage said. Naruto asked Hiruzen if he could enter the council room in active cloak mode when they got to the doors. When Sarutobi questioned why, he simply replied that he wanted to know their reaction without them realizing he was there. With the elderly man's consent, he put on his cloak and proceeded to the corner of the council room. Meanwhile, Hiruzen sat down in a chair and inquired, council meeting? Why was it called so abruptly? Well, Hokage-sama, we called meeting to discuss of 2 matters we recently found, replied Homura. Could you tell me which is important? First, we received a report from the gate stating that a 12-year-old child jumped over the gate this morning and ran toward the Hokage tower, demanded Sarutobi. Since there had been no reports of the intruder being captured, we wanted to talk about how to properly resolve the situation, Shikaku Nara replied. Since it will take some time, we will talk about this later. Could you tell me about the second matter? Hiruzen said. The second issue is that, based on academy documents, it appears that only 8 students will graduate this year. Shikaku responded once more. Since we always split teams into 4-man cells, we need to talk about whether to split them into 5-man cells of 4 genin and 1 junin, or let them be in 2 4-man cells and 1 3-man cell. My, you're worried about genins even though academy hasn't ended yet. However, since this also relates to the first issue, you shouldn't worry about it as it has already been resolved, Sarutobi said with a small laugh. Well, to respond to your initial query, since the intruder just got back from his covert training trip, we won't be able to solve anything with him, old Hokage stated. If you're wondering why he leapt over the gate, it's because the gate guard wouldn't let him in. May we know who that person is? Danzo inquired. Why not? Hokage shrugged. Ask Yoko is his codename, and he told me that he was assisting in the eradication of bandits from both the Fire and Water nations. Regarding his given name, I'm sure you're familiar with Uzumaki Naruto, am I? The room was filled with shouts. That demon brat? Was he? He ought to be put to death for it. With a tick mark, Sarutobi yelled, enough. Any insults directed at Naruto-kun will not be tolerated by me. If I understand correctly, Ibiki will meet with the next person who insults him in front of me or who I find out has insulted him directly. Council sweated bullets, but everyone nodded their heads quickly. Danzo said, If I recall correctly, you mentioned that Hokage-sama had returned from his training trip. Could you tell us what he discovered? I'll respond since you asked 5 years ago. A man who claimed to be from another dimension visited Konoha. As you may recall, he continued after getting nods. Well, he requested that we create weapons for him to use in his world. He already wore a suit called Nano Suit, which made his skin impenetrable and enabled him to run faster and stronger while hiding himself. On one stipulation, I consented to create his weapon. To learn how to use those weapons, he will hire an apprentice. After a month of his arrival, he picked up young Naruto-kun, and the two of them departed. Over the next 5 years, they will travel and train together. The man passed away after 4.5 years, and he put his suit on Naruto-kun so that his legacy, no matter how tiny, would not be lost. Naruto spent the last 6 months learning how to use the suit before going back to Konoha. Regarding the graduation issue, we agreed that Naruto would return this year to take part in it, Hiruzen concluded. That brat can't be allowed to participate in the exam. The civilian side of the council shouted, we cannot let him get stronger and possibly unleash Kaobi on us once more. A certain pink-haired counselor said, and that suit of his along with those weapons should be taken from him and given to Uchiha-sama. Hiruzen was about to reply when a tiny can appeared out of nowhere on the table, causing his eyes to widen before he swiftly turned around and shielded them. The remainder of the council was engulfed in white light and screeching, and when they were finally able to see, they all gasped when they saw a figure crouching in the center of the table, completely covered in glowing yellow armor. I will say exactly the same thing which I said to old man, Naruto said as he quickly got to his feet. As my sensei previously, I will only remove my nano suit before I die, whether in bed or on the battlefield. Furthermore, I will never deal with someone like Uchiha Sasuke. Before Koharu said, the council murmured, may we know why? The answer is easy, and I wouldn't let it do it on its own. Hiruzen and everyone else in the room were shocked by this. Naruto-kun, is there anything you forgot to tell me? I apologize, but I didn't want anyone to find out about it, old man Naruto replied. Even if I could, it would be better to not explain it because I can't, because it's just too complicated for me. But In-Cube suit itself was able to store mind of profit in itself, and now I am capable of speaking to him as he is capable of taking control for about 5 minutes to control suit, continued the blonde. You mean that Prophet will seize the suit and murder the wearer if he doesn't think the person wearing it is appropriate? Naruto confirmed. I take it that only those who have been personally selected and trained by you will be permitted to wear suits? Question from Hiruzen. Yes, that is correct. Aside from a few inventions, like the one I demonstrated during my arrival, I will not permit anyone to copy my weapons or my nanosuit. Naruto laughed. Not like you have the technology to copy it. Excellent. This meeting is over since all of your questions have been addressed. The graduation of Naruto-kun is scheduled for next week. Spend that time determining who would be a good fit for your team, Hiruzen said. Thank you, Gigi. Naruto grinned after a puzzled look. He clarified, since you saw my sniper, you know I can fire in long range if there are any Hyugas at class. We have one spot on the team already filled. If you include Byakugan in the mix, your team will be able to defeat Yondaime Hokage in the previous battle with the same number of soldiers. The other council members were taken aback. The boy's claim that he could achieve Yondaime's body count at his age was simply unreal. Alright, I'll see what I can do. However, I still advise you to visit the academy tomorrow, Hokage insisted. You will finally make some friends. Alright, I'll see what I can manage. Before he ran out of the room and out of the Hokage tower, Naruto said, see ya around, Gigi. Since nothing major happened, the rest of the day went by rather quickly. When he arrived at the academy the following morning to see his class, Naruto was instructed by a teacher to wait outside of room 215 until he was called, but, true to his nature, he activated his suit and entered the room undetected. Thus, he remained cloaked as he sat in the back of the class next to a short-haired, blue-haired girl named Hyuga Hinata, who was wearing a baggy gray jacket and blue pants. If you looked into her eyes, you would notice that her pupils were slightly lavender as usual. When Naruto was sneaking around, the girl was unaware that he was sitting there. When the doors opened, Amino Iruka entered, went to his desk, coughed to get attention, and when he got no response, used his demon head no jutsu and yelled at the class to sit down. Okay class, now when you sat I must tell you that we will have new student here, Iruka replied. A pink-haired girl in the first line held up her hand and said, sensei, isn't it some sort of error? Placing another student here is pointless because we will graduate next week. Well, Sakura, apparently to Hokage-sama this person was on training trip and learned all what we teach in academy on road, replied Iruka. Now since it's time he should be here I will introduce him. He moved to the door and peered into the hallway. However, he could see no one and only doors and windows leading to other classes. He shut the door once more and started to speak, but a voice from the back of the class interrupted, asking, "Looking for someone, sensei?" Suddenly, everyone in the class turned to see Naruto sitting next to Hinata, who was now flushed. When in a hell he saw there, was Hinata's first thought after being the head of the entire class. Hinata's thoughts were, "Oh my, why am I blushing so much? I only blushed this much when I unintentionally ran into Naruto-kun." "Well, since you are already in class, can you please come here to introduce yourself?" Iruka asked, jolting out of his shock. "So my codename is Yoko, but that will tell you nothing, but in village I'm known as Uzumaki Naruto, the king of pranksters," Naruto said as he got up and approached the desk. Blabbered Iruka. "NNN Naruto? You're back? I thought you left with Prophet? Sensei, I'm hurt. Really you though that I would leave village for good? It was part of deal with Prophet that I will return after 5 years," replied Naruto. "Ah, okay, well then can you please sit back to your seat?" Iruka responded. Naruto returned to the chair beside Hinata. "Sorry when I didn't ask first time, is it okay if I sit here?" he inquired. When he asked, Hinata's head nearly glowed red. She just sat there and prodded with her fingers, unable to come up with a response after hearing her crush speak. Huh? She must be furious because her face is flushed, he thought. "I'd rather go so I don't make a scene. Well, since you seem uncomfortable with me being here, I will leave you alone and sit somewhere else. I'll drop." Hinata's shuddering from here. She began to panic and stammered, "And no, it's okay, why you see can sit here. I understand that some people may be adamant about it, but it doesn't bother me at all, not after watching her jump practically under Pain's control rod in anime. Everything she says will be written normally, with the exception of when she is startled in some way. In any case, the next chapter will reveal when she stops shuddering completely." "Are gorgeous," for Hinata, blonde thanked us, saying, "Thanks. I thought that you're angry about me because your face was all red." She answered, "Oh, I'm sorry Naruto-kun, I was just surprised." With a huge flush once more, Naruto did not overlook this. "She's red all over again, however. Anger cannot be the cause," she simply denied it. "Kit, you're not that stupid, are you?" "No, I'm not. It appears that she feels something for me. Everything fits. That nervous poking with fingers, that blushing, that shuddering fainting is the only thing lacking." "How did you know, Fox? Anyway, do you recall the moments when you were younger and thought someone was observing you? It was more than just emotion. Ever since you rescued her from those bullies, she has been following you around. She even witnessed your departure with Prophet, which was actually one of the most closely kept secrets." "Really? Was she the one? She now resembles that girl when I look at her, and when she blushes like that, she looks adorable." In his mind, Prophet was laughing and Kaobi was rolling on the floor from laughter. "I wonder what's under. No, I'm not pervert. I'm not pervert." "Well, seems that brat isn't lost cause." Kaobi laughed. "Yeah, and I bet we will see more moments like that. I can't wait to see how he will react when he will see her without her jacket," replied the Prophet. "He will be knocked out from blood loss." Kaobi said, a little amused. "After all, it's not like you see someone with severe nosebleeds who has been trained to be a cold-blooded soldier." The Prophet glanced at him. "What do you mean?" "Well, since you're here only 5 years you don't know it, but all Hyuga women are known for having bodies of goddess. They are also known for developing early. Most likely girl now has at last medium B size if not small C size breasts," responded Kaobi. "How do you know?" inquired our former soldier. "Well, mine previous host Kushina was best friend with both Makoto Uchiha and Hitomi Hyuga. Hitomi said during one of their sleepovers that her husband Hiyashi when they were younger saw her by accident only in towel and ended for 3 days in hospital from blood loss following with light fracture of skull when nosebleed launched him into the wall. When Makoto asked how it's possible, she said that all Hyuga women are that way. She also said that if some men saw them only in a swimsuit or something a little revealing, they usually ended asking said women to marry them and consequently ending in hospital from multiple juken hits from husbands of said women or their family. Now that seems it will be interesting. I can't wait to see it," said the Prophet, who was also amused. They both turned back to Naruto, who was still chanting, "I'm not a pervert," after that. "Hey, kid, I have a question. Are you fond of her?" "What are you saying, Prophet?" "I mean, if she's attracting you, you idiot, or do you feel that you have to do everything in your power to keep her safe?" Prophet inquired. "Yeah, I believe I like her. I mean, she's cute, courteous, and kind. And she was always nice to me during the year I was in the academy before I left," Naruto replied. "All right, Prophet, now that you have your response, I suggest Naruto start paying attention. I don't want Kid to have a bad first impression after 5 years," Kaobi said, cutting off all further conversation as the lesson began. Iruka was questioning Naruto while he was talking to his 2 tenants. The banshee with the pink hair asked, "Sensei, where do you know him from?" Well, Sakura, I thought you would remember him after all, he was attending with you on yours first year in academy, replied Iruka. Ino now retorted, it's not possible, I don't recognize him. Well, this question can be answered by two sentences, wanna try altered or pure truth? Sakura barked. Truth? Right away. Well, since you seem so obsessed by Sasuke here, I don't wonder that you didn't notice him even if he was loudest from class, said the scarred instructor. The entire class flinched. They all recalled a boisterous blonde student from their first year. With a look that said, it's complete bullshit, I don't believe you even if you swore on yours hit I ate, Kiba asked, wait, you're telling me that this guy here is that loudmouth which disappeared 5 years ago? Yeah, dog breath, I am that loudmouth. In fact, I'm glad I dropped that mask. Sometimes it was getting on my nerves how stupid I had to act, Naruto replied. Class was taken aback. They later discovered that the person who had managed to enter the classroom undetected had been lying to them for the entire year. Okay class, since your questions regarding Naruto has been answered, we can continue lection. Now we will recall what we know about Third Great Shinobi War, identified as Iruka. Naruto had a rather dull rest of the morning after all of this information. Prophet nearly beat him up because he asked him to spar with him and simultaneously respond to his clone's questions. He quickly stopped for some Ichiraku ramen during lunch and returned to class when, entering the room, Iruka informed everyone that the remaining lessons would be based on their target practice, spars, and obstacles course. They began by practicing throwing kunais at practice grounds. Some students, like Sasuke, Kiba, Shino, or Hinata, achieved high scores with nearly 0 misses, while the majority of the class received mediocre results. Naruto was the last to be called. Well, Naruto, I want you to hit at last 5 from 10 throws. Iruka replied. Naruto said, Sensei, may I ask you 3 questions? Naruto continued, are allowed any weapons which are students familiar? And received another nod from scarred Chunin. He then asked the remaining questions. Well, since it is allowed, I want to ask which target and how big is distance you want to hit target. Why are you asking, Naruto? Iruka asked, perplexed. Sheepishly. Blonde, rubbing the back of his head with his hand, said, well, since I was trained with something else, my practicing with kunai and shuriken was almost none. The class burst out laughing. He didn't know how to throw a kunai, so he was going to the academy. Horrible. Sasuke made fun of Dobi by saying, you should stop being a ninja. Well, Naruto, was you trained with something on long range? Iruka was hopeful. Iruka told Blonde, well, if you were, so you can pick distance and target you will be aiming for. After he nodded, he smiled, okay sensei, since you're giving me choice, I will pick that target in back of yard and I will shoot on it across all field. The class burst into yet another round of wild laughter. Even Sasuke, the best in his class, couldn't hit the target, so why did he think he would? A case of no value. At that moment, Anbu wearing a cat mask emerged behind Naruto. Naruto said calmly, it's good to see you again. Aneko-sen, I assume Gigi sent you here. Yes, Yoko-kun. Hokage-sama told me you have something that will pique mine interest. Neko was speaking, choosing to see it for herself. Naruto took his scroll out of his cloak and unfolded it. Wanna see on your own eyes or just explain it? She asked. He moved slightly to the field and then turned to class after opening his pile of flashbangs and saying, okay, everyone with sensitive eyes should turn around, that way they won't be affected. Activating the flashbang, he threw it behind his back and said, last warning, you still got chance to turn around, no? Okay, there yours eyes. When the flash struck the ground, a white light filled everyone's eyes. With an obnoxious screech, he handed her a scroll with a flash on it. Impressive toy you got there, Yoko-kun. You made it by yourself? Neko asked after regaining consciousness. Yeah, I made it with little help from Prophet. I made yesterday after meeting with Gigi. Copy of plans for it here. Thanks, it will make excellent tool for infiltration or escape from combat in Anbu ranks. If you will have another similar idea, please let me know through Hokage, will you? Replied Neko after receiving a nod from the blonde. She thanked him again and walked away. Okay Naruto, since your little performance with Anbu second in command is over, now you can attend to target practice, instructed Iruka after giving a nod. Naruto took his scar rifle from the scroll that was still on the ground. He positioned himself, aimed, and fired 10 shots into the target in a brief period of time. Everyone gaped at his weapon's rapid pace. Iruka nearly fainted when he went to check the target and discovered that 2 of the 10 shots were only 3 or 4 centimeters from center, while 8 of the 10 were bullseyes. Everyone in the class was shocked when he made the announcement. They participated in an obstacle course following target practice, since no chakra was permitted and he only needed to activate his Nano Suit to receive the highest grade possible. Naruto's task was quite simple. The last activity was a student-to-student spar that went rather quickly as well. No game went longer than 5 minutes. First, Shikamaru faced Kiba, who quickly defeated him with his family's jutsu. Suga when Shino and Choji faced off in the following match. Shino simply used his bugs to deplete Choji's chakra. Following that, Hinata engaged in a fight with a classmate, simply closing tenketsu on the girl's arms and legs. When she heard Naruto applaud her for her ass kicks, she turned red in the match that followed. Sakura and Ino simply knocked each other out. Finally, Naruto and Sasuke faced off in the final match. Okay boys, rules are simple, you can use all you want but no lethal jutsu, am I clear? Replied Iruka, while Naruto, as an addition, unlocked his Ulax and put them in his back. Both boys nodded as is customary. Sasuke's fanbase began chanting that Sasuke-kun would kick Naruto's ass. The two boys fell into their respective stances. After a minute of neither action, Sasuke lunged forward and tried to kick Naruto in the left side. Not wanting to ruin the fun by simply switching to armor mode and sending his own foot to Sasuke's chin, Naruto fell to the ground. Sasuke sidestepped, spun around, and punched Naruto in the head, rolling sideways. Naruto swept Sasuke away from his legs. Sasuke attempted to heel drop Naruto after leaping into the air. Last chance, he tried to move and punched Sasuke in the chest. Sasuke coughed a little and mumbled backwards, reaching for his Ulax. Naruto said, "Okay, time to start taking it seriously, don't you think, Teme?" Despite his best efforts to avoid the right hook, Sasuke was kicked to the chest and gasped when he felt Naruto punch him in the gut. The rest of the class, including the fangirl, watched the fight with wide eyes. Iruka was the only one who didn't see Naruto move, and they were trying to hide the fact that Sasuke, the best student in the class, was losing to Adobe, who had come to their class today. Sasuke, meanwhile, was lying on the ground with one of Naruto's Ulax against his neck and another ready to swiftly tear apart his more vulnerable parts if he tried to fight. "Are you prepared to give up?" asked Naruto after getting a nod. He turned to leave since class was over and backed away from Sasuke, sealing his Ulax away. A week after starting class, Naruto was making his way to the academy on foot. Ultimately, his goal was to join Hinata or, finally, Kiba's team. He became friends with a few of the students in the class during the last week, namely Shikamaru, when he finally got him to do something, usually play shogi. Their actual score is 3-5 for Shika, his friend Choji, and Shino, and Hinata, who somehow stopped her from shuddering. Not that Naruto didn't think it was cute, Kiba also occasionally assisted him with some practical jokes, particularly on Sasuke. He prayed, however, that he would not be allied with Sasuke or any of his foolish fangirls. He truly detests them, especially Sakura, the pink-haired banshee, and Rationale. Sasuke approached Naruto shortly after his first day at the academy and demanded that he give him his pistols and other weapons so that he could murder Itachi. That bitch with the pink hair came yelling that Sasuke should have all the power and that he didn't deserve any when Naruto told him to leave. Naruto saw that the class was already full when he walked into the room, so he went to his seat and quickly napped before Iruka arrived. Iruka went into the room and set his belongings on the desk. "Class, please sit down." "No answer." "Will you please sit down?" "No answer." "Will you brats sit down?" he asked, inhaling deeply before using his demon head no jutsu. The only sound in the room was Naruto cursing after he fell out of his seat when Iruka yelled, "Thanks, now that graduation exam will have 3 parts. First part will be written, second will be taijutsu and weapons exam, and final part will be ninjutsu and genjutsu. We will proceed to written part of exam. Each one of you will receive this test," stated Iruka. After 2.5 exam sections, Iruka was called Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke grinned. "I'll show you Dobi now." "Okay Sasuke, you know the drill, henge, Kawarimi, and 2 bunshins plus any jutsu you know. No one will treat elite Uchiha disrespectfully." Sasuke grinned once more before changing into Iruka, switching between the chair and the back, and then performing 2 flawless bunshins. Then he began signing, inhaled deeply, and exclaimed, "Gukakyu no jutsu," blowing out a fireball twice his size. While most boys were glaring at Sasuke, who simply went to sit down with an arrogant smirk, Naruto just yawned. All the girls, with the exception of Hinata, had hearts in their eyes and began fawning about how Sasuke-kun is the best. Iruka was called Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto got to his feet and walked to the front of the class. "Okay, same as Sasuke. Anyo sensei, must it really be bunshin no jutsu? Can't I make something other?" replied Naruto. The self-proclaimed Avenger made fun of Dobi by saying, "HNN seems Dobi is so big loser that he can't even make bunshin." "No Sasuke-chan, I can make bunshin, it's just I would have to fill Konoha with bunshins to don't make them look dead. I got too much chakra for jutsu with so low chakra usage," replied Naruto. Iruka pretended to ask, "Okay, Naruto, do you know any other bunshin?" Before the fight began, Naruto nodded, "So you can make that bunshin?" Our blonde nodded once more before creating Kawarimi. He switched between Iruka and himself. Scarred Chunin said, good swap yourself with another person is one of hardest Kawarimi. Unaware of what he was agreeing to, poor Iruka nodded. Anyo Iruka sensei, one question, can I make mine special henge? Henge? Naruto and Iruka vanished in a puff of smoke. All of the boys except Shino and Emo King Sasuke collapsed with a severe nosebleed. After the smoke cleared, in front of them stood a girl who was 170 centimeters tall, had long blonde hair and 2 pigtails that reached the middle of her back, a middle D-cup breast, long, lovely legs, and was completely nude except for her breast and crotch, which were streaked with smoke. Girls simply gazed with wide eyes. She was currently massaging Iruka, who was standing there in disbelief. Naruto said in a somewhat husky voice that was audible in the first row of students, Iruka-kun, nice to see you. Wanna go play with me somewhere in private? Once more, the boys in the front row got nosebleeds after hearing it. Iruka stood there for 2 or 3 more seconds before his nosebleed, which was worse than most boys, threw him against the wall. When Naruto realized he had knocked Iruka unconscious, the majority of the men in the class turned around and woke Iruka up. Iruka moaned, ah, mine head, what happened? Iruka nodded when Naruto said, well, Iruka-sensei, you just happened to fall victim to mine special henge on seducing males. And before you will ask, it was not normal henge, it was actually transformation thanks to one mine friend. Iruka was a little taken aback when he patted his stomach while uttering those words, but he ignored it. Iruka, still shaken, replied, okay, nice job, but I must ask you to never use it again now please. Your bunshin. Naruto called, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, while nodding and making a few hand gestures. 6 bunshins materialized next to Naruto in a puff of smoke. Nowadays, the majority of students with ninja parents or from clans were aware of this jutsu. Shinobi with finally middle to high Chunin chakra reserves were permitted to learn this forbidden technique, and some of them were even able to draw just 1 or 2 bunshins. Naruto didn't appear to be even tired after making 6 Kage bunshins. Iruka stammered, Naruto, can I ask you how big chakra reserves are? Naruto positioned himself beside him and spoke softly into his ear. Iruka exclaimed, what? And then passed out. The class was shocked to see their teacher faint once more. Iruka was awakened once more by Naruto, who said to the clones, good, now, 5 of you guys dispel last, come to me. Sensei, can I finish my exam before you faint again? High? Naruto whispered something to the clones, and they followed orders. After giving a nod, Clone and Naruto began signing. When they both stopped signing, the real Naruto waited while the clone completed the final seal and let loose on the dummy, which continued to stand there with the silent Sweden. Tepodama water bullet. Half of the upper part of the dummy was in pieces when the bullet left it standing there. As we complete the final hand seal, Rankuden destroys the remaining dummy with futon. If the class was finally taken by surprise by Sasuke's fireball, they were all completely stunned, and in some cases, the shock was permanent. You don't see a 12-year-old kid practicing high-ranked elemental jutsu every day, after all. Additionally, our emo Avenger was so furious that steam was practically gushing from his ears. How is that Dobi so powerful? He reasoned, I should be able to kill Itachi instead of some loser who just wandered here a week ago. Naruto, I guess right that you did learn this on your trip with Prophet, huh? Replied Iruka with a grin across his face. Naruto replied, yeah sensei, I learned it with Prophet. Actually Rankuden I learned from one Suna Junin as price for sawing his head, and Tepodama I was taught personally by Mei in mine time in Kiri. Wait, by Mei you're referring to Godem Mizukage Mei Terumi? Iruka scowled. Naruto pondered, yep. I mean Godem Mizukage. Why? Iruka and a few other brighter students were picking their jaws off the ground. If the Prophet was able to make him so strong in just 5 years, he must be a strong person. I need him to teach me, Sasuke thought. Iruka-sensei, can I ask who is that Prophet person you were speaking about? He inquired. Sasuke would be 2 or 3 meters underground when Naruto heard it, if appearances could kill him. But prior to responding, Iruka said, well, he is one man who came to village 5 years ago with some request. After about a month he left village with Naruto, who he decided to train. By the way, Naruto, where is Prophet? I would like to discuss with him some new chakra control exercises I discovered recently. Naruto's face shifted from joy to sorrow. Iruka noticed a change in the blonde's behavior and asked, something happened to him, Naruto? Yeah? The whiskered teen said, I'm afraid that it's no more possible, sensei. He died about half year ago. The teacher almost whispered in fear, oh, I'm sorry, Naruto, if I knew, I wouldn't have brought that topic. It saddens me that so good man has left us. Shit. I really want to learn from that man in his mind. Sasuke cursed. I have to find another way to get power so I can kill him. Naruto, who was still a little depressed, grinned and said, nah, it's okay, Sensei after all. His legacy still lives as he passed it on to me. Wait, you mean he passed it to you? Huh? You mean you actually didn't recognize it when I first entered class? It's clear as day that he would pass it on me, Naruto was thinking loudly. Huh? That man apparently left something to Dobi. His hopes of getting revenge were rekindled when he said, I will be able to kill Itachi if I can find what it is and take it from him. Emo King demanded, Dobi, what left you that man? As if I would said it to you after all it was entrusted to me, so why just say it to some brooding emo who thinks he's higher than Kami herself? Naruto gave him a glare before spitting on the ground and responding with venom. Banshee added her 2 cents to the discussion, saying, because he is, you should be honored by entrusting Sasuke-kun with it and handling it to his professional hands. As if I will listen to some Uchiha or Haruno-sensei. Please hand me Mind Protector before things get out of control and I will be pressed to kill someone, said Naruto. Here you go. Naruto, be back tomorrow morning at 8 for team announcement. Will do, sensei. And Haruno, pray I won't be in team with you or Uchiha or I swear I will kill you. Iruka, sensing that he meant what he said, handed Naruto his protector. He then stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. Sakura shuddered in terror. SSS sensei, he didn't mean it, did he? Sasuke simply snorted and kept staring out the window, brooding, I am afraid he did mean it. I never saw him so angry when he was first year in academy 6 years ago, Iruka replied. Sasuke said, HN, as if that loser could kill me. Don't be so sure, Sasuke. From what I heard and from what Hokage-sama said to me, Naruto may be responsible for helping if not killing Yondaime Mizukage, informed the class of Iruka. They all went pale. Alongside Naruto. That bitch is an idiot. Naruto became enraged and vowed to kill her if she attempted that again with Uchiha Teme. Calm down, Kit. In an attempt to soothe Naruto, Kaobi remarked, you draw a lot of mind chakra unconsciously in this state of mind, and you know what happens when you draw it by force. I understand, but I find it hard to accept that jerk was interested in profit. You understand why he asked? I'm sure if he were still living and not just a mind in suit, he would undoubtedly demand that Prophet train him. He even insisted on learning about the suit, what might happen if it were in the hands of Sasuke or, goddammit, Itachi. Naruto was still resentful. Even though I would like to agree with you, Kaobi made a valid point. You need to relax. What do you know? Get some fresh air by going to a training field, Prophet bargained, but you would have to pay for repairs later. And what might occur if I don't? What would make it different? Well, Kit, I can always send you some pictures of that blue-haired girl you dreamed about yesterday. Kaobi was threatened with pictures of the girl in the nude. Nice idea, Kaobi. Prophet congratulated him. What are your thoughts on me? That I'm a pervert of some sort? No, what about Hinata? Nervous Naruto laughed. It's not like I like her or so. Are you certain about that, Kit? Because what I know tells me otherwise, Ninetales thought. Shut up, Fox. Naruto yelled. I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you certain, boy? What about during that training 3 days ago when she removed her cloak? Prophet deadpanned. When you saw how developed she is. Your eyes nearly popped out of your head. Actually, Hinata removed her cloak that day in the hopes that Naruto would see her. How foolish the poor girl was to not realize that he had observed her on her first day of class. At this point, Naruto's face turned nearly scarlet. All right, you two won. I have a slight affection for her. Okay, more than little. Naruto acknowledged Prophet and Kaobi clasped hands, or rather, hand and tail, with wide smiles inside his head. Will you follow my advice, or do you prefer those pictures? Demon Fox asked. Instead, give advice before heading to one of the small training fields outside of Konoha, the blonde thought. So hooray to training field. After a few minutes, there were a number of loud explosions in the village and huge dust clouds that resembled mushrooms rising from the forest clearing. Later that night, in the office of the Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen was reading spy intelligence and patrol reports about the shinobi activity that was going on in other villages. Hell, he had to spy on their allies even if he didn't want to, in case any village started making war preparations. He saw completing paperwork was a tedious and time-consuming task, but someone had to do it. He was reading mission reports when a terrified Chunin ran into the office and nearly yelled, Hokage-sama, Hokage-sama, we got a problem. And will you at last tell me what it is? Sir, the Forbidden Scroll has been stolen, according to Chunin. What? Immediately inform Anbu squads and send every Junin and Chunin look for that thief. We can't afford someone like Orochimaru or worse Iwagakure to get their hands on it, dismissed, instructed Hiruzen. Chunin bowed and hurried out of the office, saying, yes sir. Sarutobi sat down in his chair after seeing. He thought about who would benefit the most from stealing scrolls while massaging his temples. I'm getting too old for this kind of crap. He picked up his orb and began looking, thinking, now let's see if I can find the person who did it with mine orb. Alongside Naruto was panting and resting on a tree. He and his clones were able to reduce the training area, which had a pond and a small obstacle course, to a clearing that was nearly completely covered in craters in 4 hours. Even the small but deep pond was now dry due to all the Suiten and Kaden techniques. Are you calm now, Kit? Yes, thank you, Fox. So ready to talk about that vixen of yours? I needed to feel much better now, Kaobi asked, grinning. What? Why not? Oh, come on, kid. You know that it's nice to be in love. In fact, it's necessary for everyone to maintain their sanity. Nice work on that training field, by the way, joined Prophet in conversation. Naruto glowed bright red for the first time. Hey, why do you two ask? I'm not disputing that I like her, and perhaps we'll become more. Thank you for the acknowledgement. We would like to know with whom you will be sharing kits. Kaobi replied with a toothy grin, and that's why we'll be in the first line to watch. Great, I got 2 perverts in my head, Naruto said, rolling his eyes. I will never again allow you to witness me having sex with someone. Damn it, Kaobi, you blew it up. When Kaobi noticed something, he simply rolled his eyes. Now he will make sure to block us out. It looks like someone is coming here. Kit, you'd better watch out now. Mizuki stopped on the last tree branches on the second side of the freshly created clearing. Dude, there's someone here. Who the demon brat is this, I wonder? As he prepared one of the windmill shurikens strapped to his back and threw it, he thought, looks like today is my lucky day. I will steal the forbidden scroll and kill the demon in one day. When he heard the shuriken fly on him, Naruto, who always knew what was happening, simply grinned. Between Naruto and shuriken, a blue blur leapt from bushes on the left side of the clearing just 2 meters ahead of Naruto. When shuriken struck Naruto instead, revealing Iruka, both Mizuki and Naruto were taken aback. Iruka-sensei, what are you doing here? And why did you do it? Replied Naruto. Naruto, everyone says that you're demon. Everyone hates you. Even I hated you at one time. But if you are demon, why don't you just destroy this village and be done with it? Now I can see it, Naruto. You are not demon no matter what villagers says. Iruka responded to him. And I can't allow you to pass away. Sensei, I know it, and if you thought you can't let me die, did you forgot who trained me? Or what did he passed on me? Replied the blonde Jinchuriki. Then he got up and approached Iruka, putting his hand on shuriken and saying, this may hurt. He then tore it off Iruka's back. Iruka let out a little cry of agony and fell to the ground. Then, as he knelt down next to Iruka and put his hand on her wound, Naruto's glove turned green with a red mixture. When was medical ninjutsu taught to brat? Mizuki thought as Iruka expressed his ideas. Naruto shook his head and asked, Naruto, when did you learn medical jutsu? No, it's not medical jutsu. This is mine own jutsu I created. It actually don't heal wound, it just speeds regeneration process of cells to close wound. You will still need to be checked by experienced medic, but you can't die from blood loss now. He stood up and turned to Mizuki. Mind telling me what are you doing here, Iruka-sensei? Well, someone stole the forbidden scroll. I was looking around for that thief when I saw shuriken fly on you. Nodding, Naruto responded to Mizuki. Mind telling me why you attacked me, sensei? When Mizuki heard this, he laughed. Iruka tried to stop him, saying, so you don't know? So I must tell you. No, Mizuki, don't, it's forbidden. Naruto, do you know why everyone hates you? You know, 12 years ago when Kaobi attacked Yondaime, Hokage was not able to kill it. Instead, he sealed it in baby born. That day, you were that baby, Naruto, and you was sealed Kaobi. You are Kaobi no Yuko. The clearing was filled with laughter. However, Naruto was the one giggling. Mizuka and Iruka gaped and said, Sensei, do you think I don't know about father sealing Kaobi in me? What? Did Zo said father? You knew or heard mine full name, huh? Then here it is. Mine full name is Namikaze Uzumaki, Naruto, son of Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato. I'm really surprised that you didn't notice that I look like mine father in mine age, but now let me show you something, Kachiyose. The clearing was filled with smoke. As it began to fade, a demonic voice reverberated throughout the clearing. Kit, you're doing me a favor. It has been long time since I last stretched a paw. I know, Yoko-san, I know, replied Naruto. Now who you wanna dead? The scarred one or the one who got that scroll on his back? Inquired Kaobi. Iruka and Mizuki began to tremble in terror. The powerful Kaobi no Yuko, in all his splendor, stood before them. Kaobi, despite being as large as a typical dog. One with scroll on his back. Wait, scroll? Iruka-sensei, looks like we found our thief, replied Naruto. Kaobi smiled as he addressed Mizuki. Well, human, it was fun to see you, but now is time to show you difference between Kit and me. And that would be? Nervously replied Mizuki. Kaobi replied, flashing his sharp teeth in a wider smile. Kit is less sadistic. Before Kaobi lunged at him, Mizuki began to tremble like a little child, and a very girlish scream was heard by all of Konoha as he watched through his orb. Sarutobi even heard it. I need to ask Naruto how he was able to call forth Kaobi, the elderly Hokage thought. Naruto turned away from Kaobi and his fun and said, "Well sensei, I give it about 5 minutes before we can head back to village. Naruto, may I ask how you know about Kaobi and what it means that you're son of Yondaime?" Iruka nodded in confusion. Naruto sighed and clarified, "Well, about Kaobi I know from Prophet. He told me 6 months after we left Konoha along with mine heritage. About year and half later I was able to speak to Yoko-san during our fight with Mizukage. It was thanks to him that we were able to kill him in fact, and as for summoning, I signed a contract with Kitsune clan to summon them." Before dispelling himself, Kaobi concluded, "Well, Kit, it was fun, but I will return to Seal now. I'm going to take a nap now, so don't disturb me if it's not necessary." As Naruto watched Mizuki, he noticed a twitching mass of flesh and blood. Given that Mizuki had bites, scratches, and cuts all over his body, Kaobi did a fantastic job on him. His clothing ripped apart, revealing his large black eye, numerous bruises, and cut limbs. Additionally, it demonstrated that he had 6 cracked ribs and 2 broken bones in each limb. He finally left him alive. However, I have to say, good job, Yoko-san, Naruto thought. "Thanks, Kit," he answered, sounding almost lazy. When the Anbu squad arrived on the scene, Naruto picked up the scroll from the ground where Mizuki had dropped it. "What happened here?" One wearing a Tora mask inquired. "Well, Mizuki Teme attacked Iruka sensei while he tried to run away with scroll. I seeing it acted and gave Mizuki a proper treating," replied Naruto. Tora masked Anbu gave orders while nodding. "Bore. Ox takes traitor here to Ibiki. Hawk takes Iruka-san here to hospital. Naruto-san, I will escort you with scroll to Hokage-sama." Everyone went to carry out the orders. After receiving them, Hiruzen greeted them in the office. Tora bowed and vanished in a puff of smoke, saying, "Also, I take it our thief has been found. Thank you, Tora-san. I can leave. Naruto, I wish to speak with you." "Gigi, do you really need to ask what happened? I know you saw it all in that orb of yours. How do you know?" Hiruzen was perplexed. Sarutobi gave him a suspicious look as Naruto turned into an empty corner and said, "You can deactivate cloak now." Then, another Naruto wearing an active suit appeared in the corner. Sarutobi was taken aback and said, How? I didn't even sense him there, but it answers how you know." Naruto turned on a clone who simply rubbed his head sheepishly and said, "Sorry boss. Gigi, I sent cloaked clones to all important points around Konoha in case someone wanted to attack and to upgrade security levels a little. I would know immediately if someone wanted to attack or attempted to assassinate you if it weren't for someone taking a nap." "Huh?" Naruto said. "Okay, since you know about it, let's proceed to one question I have. How are you able to summon Kaobi? And why was he small, only like a dog?" asked Hokage. "Well, to size he can change it to adjust to his surroundings so he won't demolish some house if summoned in it. As for summoning itself, I happen to be first holder of Kitsune clan contract with Kaobi happening to be boss of clan, so in short everyone who will sign contract will be able to summon him," replied Naruto. Hiruzen was shocked and said, "Very well, but why didn't others Jinchuriki of Kaobi sign contract? It seems that tradition or some sort of law in Kitsune clan says that only person with pure heart, or if that person is Jinchuriki of clan leader and is able to use about 3 chakra tails worth its power, can sign contract, and what it looks like it was accomplished only by me," Naruto replied. "Also, can you please summon Kaobi here? I wish to speak with him," replied Sarutobi. Naruto appeared a little uncomfortable. "Is it really necessary?" Yi tried to enter Sarutobi's office, but was cut off by knocks on doors before Morino Ibiki, the head of the T&I department, arrived. "Hokage-sama, Naruto-san, I'm sorry for interruption. I came here to give report about Mizuki's reasons to betrayal. From what he said, he did it for Orochimaru, seeing that Sannin marked him with his cursed seal. I also wish to speak with person who gave him such beating. It's because Mizuki spoke before I could even touch him, so I wish to know what said person did to him to get him break so fast." "Thanks, Ibiki. I believe you will be able to talk to that person if Naruto complies with your request. However, I must let you know that what you are seeing right now is classified as S-class, if not double S secret." "Really, did I have no choice?" asked Naruto. Receiving negative, Naruto mumbled something about someone skinning him alive. Summoned Kaobi. After he did it, he was greeted with angry voice of Kaobi. "Kid, I told you not to summon me, or are you hoping to die?" "I apologize, but Yoko-san, someone would like to talk to you. I also didn't want to call you." "Hokage-sama, you're telling me here Kaobi-san did that number on Mizuki? Do you have some problem with Immortal?" Ibiki asked, staring at the tiny Kaobi in front of him with wide eyes. A slightly agitated Kaobi said, "You can be glad that I left that piece of thrash alive so you can question him." "No, not at all, since no one would want to be on Kaobi's bad side after witnessing what a demon could do to a human," Ibiki hurriedly said. "It just surprised me, but seeing who did it to him, I think he made it quite nice from that encounter. Before leaving the office, he bowed to Kaobi and the Hokage. So, Kit, is there anything else? Or can I go back to sleep? You know, I had a nice dream, Kaobi, who was still a little irate, said. Gigi here wanted to talk to you, Yoko-san. I believe it will be a while before you can come back, Naruto said. For the next half hour, Sarutobi talked with Kaobi about the Kitsune clan contract and what it included. Hiruzen now knew that Naruto, as the original contract holder, could have someone else sign it, but only if that person had the consent of the last two clan elders. If no one complied with the requirements, the next holder would be Kaobi's Jinchuriki, who would be in charge of the three tails of chakra. Oh, that reminds me of something else. You stated that Jinchuriki can only sign if he is able to control all three of his tails. How much can Naruto control now, may I ask? Well, Kit can now control 6 tails of my power, Sarutobi inquired. However, it is a huge success for his age because Shodem's wife and his mother were able to simultaneously control just 2 tails of my power. I'm really exhausted right now, so if you don't mind, I'll go back to Seal, Kaobi said. This is all I wanted to know, thank you, Yoko-san. Remember that tomorrow is still your academy day. Naruto, I wish you and your team luck. Oh, and don't ask, I won't reveal who you're with, Hokage said. Gigi. Thank you. Have you ever used Kage Bunshin, by the way? Naruto remarked, it can be useful for many things, not just recon missions? Huh? What are you saying? Well, what about paperwork since you're unable to solve it? I believe using Kage Bunshin will speed things up. And they are calling me a god of shinobi, said Sarutobi, slapping himself as he called forth 4 clones to handle paperwork. He said, thanks, Naruto. No problem, Gigi. As he departed, Naruto said, have a nice night. The morning of the following day, after yawning and stretching his legs, Naruto practically leapt out of bed and changed into his regular clothes with a great deal of excitement because he knew he would be assigned to his team today and couldn't wait. As he ate his breakfast, the blonde thought, I hope I will be with some of my friends. I think Gigi could place me on team with Shikamaru, but it's impossible seeing that we both have high IQ. Maybe I will be in team with Hinata-chan. He put on his shoes after breakfast and ran out of the apartment, almost ecstatic. Meeting Iruka halfway to the academy, the teacher was only walking because his back wasn't healed yet, but he was still moving. Iruka stood there for a moment, staring at Naruto, who had on a black cloak with flames, Kaobi, and the kanji for demon fox on it, clean pants, and a black cloth tied around his headband, which was moving in the wind along with his golden bangs. Change his cloak for white one with flames, and into blue pants and blue long-sleeved shirt with Chunin tactic vest, and you could swear Yondaime stands here, Iruka said, focusing on the way the wind moved his hair and cloak, thinking he saw the shadow of Yondaime himself standing above Naruto, like in Shippuden when. Are you okay, sensei? Iruka waved Naruto into his face and shook his head, focusing on Naruto once more. Yeah, I just thought I saw Ghost of Past. Huh? What are you saying? Asked Naruto. Well, I just thought for a moment that I was looking at your father and not you when I saw you with a distant glance, he said. I truly can't believe we never realized you're his son. Naruto felt his eyes get wet. Thanks, sensei, he said. It has a lot of meaning for me. After cleaning his eyes, he hugged Iruka and said, let's go. Sensei, I swear to you that I will prove to everyone that I am worthy of being his son. I'm eager to find out who my teammates are. I have no doubt that everyone else is also thrilled to learn. Don't let them wait, then. After helping Iruka walk a little more quickly, Naruto and Iruka headed to academy, where their paths diverged as Naruto went to the classroom and Iruka went to the teacher's lounge to retrieve some necessary documents. He noticed that half of the class had already arrived when he walked in, and when he turned to face the back of the room, he noticed something unpleasant. Kiba was perched on his chair, leaning over Hinata, and dangerously encroaching on her personal space. Come on, Hinata-chan, why don't you want to accompany me out? Dobi won't ever notice you, really. Despite his intelligence, he is just as ignorant as Sasuke in this regard. In any case, what do you see on him? He was saying, Hinata, I'm 10 times better than that loser. Unaware that she didn't like what Kiba was doing, Hinata's face nearly lit up with delight when she saw him standing there, but she was too nice to tell him to get lost. Naruto, who didn't like what he was seeing, sneaked up on Kiba and now stood directly behind him. Kiba felt uneasy when he noticed Hinata's face light up, so he asked without turning around, he's right behind me, isn't he? In a tone that nearly made Kiba throw up, Naruto leaned in closer and said, and what if I am dog breath? Given that you are 10 times better than me, what do you wish to do about me? With a derisive tone, he said. Allow me to share a small secret with you. Kiba began to shake uncontrollably as he said, when I was sparring against you during classes, all hit I made was about 20% of mind strength right now. He was paired with Naruto for one of those spars, and Naruto ultimately knocked him out with a single punch to the jaw, which was so powerful that it broke his jaw in multiple places. Now, for the sake of Hinata and yourself, I would advise you to get out of my seat if you don't want to feel my full strength. She is so kind that she won't tell you to fuck off so as not to offend you, even though she is unaware that it makes her uncomfortable. As you can see, she got me for that job. With a hint of rage in his voice, Naruto concluded, now get rid of dog breath or I'll help you. Grateful Hinata bowed to an embarrassed Naruto, saying, thank you, Naruto-kun. Kiba, who was perspiring, instantly shot up and back into his seat. I appreciate you telling Kiba to back off. It's not really anything, Hinata-chan. I would always do it for you, he said, his cheeks flushed slightly, which Hinata could see. Is he blushing, Naruto-kun? Could he like me? No, he couldn't like someone as pitiful as me. Hinata thought. No issue. Hinata-chan, I had to stop letting Kiba annoy you. I could tell you didn't feel comfortable with it. And me too, Naruto said to himself in his final statement. Then they heard two pairs of legs running, and Sakura and Ino ran into the classroom as the doors opened. First, both of them yelled, see Ino pig? I got to sit next to Sasuke-kun because I arrived first? No way, forehead girl, I arrived first. Sasuke-kun gets to sit next to me. With a groan of frustration, Naruto shouted, will you shut both? Good, are you two playing it or are you so insane that you didn't notice there are seats at both sides of Sasuke? Both girls said, cutting off their conversation to stare at Naruto. The blonde inquired. As the girls sat on either side of Sasuke, they hummed joyfully while Sasuke glared daggers at Naruto, who, to his delight, thought the scene was hilarious. Why didn't I realize it? Both of them asked. Iruka walked into the office as the sliding doors opened, his clothes a little loose and his stomach bandages partially visible. Naruto raised an eyebrow and said, Sensei, what happened to you? You weren't dressed, or should I say undressed, like that when we arrived at the academy. You see, Naruto, I had a little encounter with one Tokubetsu Junin, Iruka said, blushing nervously, and that Tokubetsu Junin would happen to go by name Mitarashi Anko, right? Naruto said, raising another eyebrow with a smile of amusement. Iruka reddened even more. Sensei, you don't have to say anything. Congratulations. By the way, I was starting to wonder when it would occur. Blue-eyed Wonder laughed to himself. She deserves someone nice because she had the same life as me. While the rest of the class looked puzzled, Iruka blushed even more. Okay, Naruto, you had fun, Iruka said. Now let's divide you to your teams. Naruto fell asleep until he heard, Team 7 is Uchiha Sasuke. The majority of the girls in the class jumped and began yelling about true love winning until she felt Naruto's icy glare, which silenced her, and Inuzuka Kiba. No. Why must I be with that jerk and his crazy fangirl? Kiba screamed. He complained. Naruto gripped his sides and laughed heartily, regretting that he had forgotten his camera today because Kiba's expression was so precious. It would have made for centuries worth of blackmail material. Iruka concluded by saying, your sensei will be Hitaki Kakashi. Next team consists Hyuga Hinata. Hinata became excited, wondering who her teammates would be. Aburame Shino. Shino looked up. And Uzumaki. What? Yes, Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. Everyone save the clan heirs were shocked and asked, where in hell did they hear that name? Their faces were filled with surprise. When they all turned onto a squeal, they saw a very red Hinata attempting to blend into a chair. Oh, I'm sorry, that surprised look should have lasted longer than 2 seconds if it weren't for a squeal of pure joy that any Sasuke's fangirl would be proud of. Hinata made a feeble attempt. Iruka sighed and remarked, Junin sensei will be Yuichi Kurenai. We'll skip it now since Team 9 is still active before it gets bored. Akamichi Choji, Shikamaru Nara, and Ino Yamanaka make up Team 10. Sarutobi Asuma is Junin sensei. Shikamaru and Choji grinned, but Ino just buried her head in her hands and brooded that the girl with the forehead was with Sasuke while she was struck by those two. Before you meet your sensei, you have an hour to eat your lunch. I hope you all have success. I want to talk to you, Naruto. So, may I ask how you know about my relationship with Enko? Naruto and Iruka left the room after stopping in one of the hallways. Oh come on, sensei, it's not aware that she has something for you, the teacher said, and lately, I've noticed that you frequently have a back hidden hickey on your neck. Naruto smiled. Naruto, when did you become an authority on love? Iruka smiled now and said, you mean Hinata sensei? From what I saw, you didn't even notice someone likes you too. Iruka was bug-eyed as Naruto asked in a sweet voice, you know about it? How? Why, after all, didn't you speak to her? You know Hinata, sensei, if I were to approach her and say, hey Hinata, I know you have a crush on me, she would instantly pass out. How are we going to use it? Additionally, I wasn't certain of my own emotions. Hold on, do you also have a crush on her? Well, I'm positive that I like her now, but I wasn't positive until I was in class and witnessed Kiba making advances on her. I have a crush on her, Naruto muttered in his final words. But maybe even love her. Take a look at her because of her blush. She is incredibly cute, shy, kind, and nice. Heck, she's even liked by Yoko-san. I even dreamed about her a couple times, the blonde concluded. Apparently, I'm not the only one who got lucky now. Naruto, I'll let you rejoin your team. Iruka waved. See ya sometime later. When Naruto returned to class, he found Hinata and Shino waiting for him in the last row. He sat next to them, grinned at Hinata, and nodded at Shino. In return, Hinata blushed, and Shino nodded back. Anyo Naruto-kun. We were talking with Shino-kun about why they chose to put us in that position. We discovered that Shino-kun and I are proficient trackers, so why were you assigned to us? Well, Hinata-chan, I believe that was my fault. I met with the council when I got there, and I suggested that they pair me with a member of your clan since I have a long-range weapon. Additionally, it can be very helpful to have Hyuga as a teammate who would search for targets while simultaneously keeping an eye out for ambushes. Hinata reddened once more. Naruto-kun asked her to do so, and she felt as though she was on cloud nine. They ate and talked about various topics while they waited for their sensei. An hour later, a man wearing a vest and regular Chunin pants and a cigarette entered the room, accompanied by a woman with long black hair, red eyes, and an outfit that appeared to be made of bandages. The man said, "Team 10 with me." The woman asked, "Which of you is Team 8? Naruto turned to face his teammates, who got to their feet. "You are? Okay, now follow me." After hearing Kiba argue that Naruto and Shino had a hot sensei, they left class and headed from the academy. When they reached a small bridge, she stooped to look at her charges and said, "Okay, now we will introduce and which are our skills so we know what we can expect from others." She began after getting a nod. "My name is Kurenai Yuihi. I enjoy spending time with my friends, especially when we go out for drinks in the evening. I don't like people who don't take us kunoichi seriously, as well as perverts and rapists. Genjutsu is my skill," Kurenai said. "Anyo, my name is Hyuga Hinata, and I enjoy cinnamon buns, pressing flowers, and Naruto-kun." Hinata blushed slightly and said, "Charismatic and haughty people are what I dislike." Hinata looked at Naruto and said, "I'm skilled in my clan's taijutsu style. My goal is to become a great leader of our clan and my name is Aburame Shino. Bugs and the pursuit and breeding of new bug species are among my interests. I don't like people who can't tell the difference between our bugs and ourselves, or who kill or despise bugs." Taking a deep breath, Shino said, "My skills are tracking and fighting with my clan bugs. My dream is to become stronger than my father and to find a lot of new bug species. I want to share something with you." Sensei Naruto startled Kurenai by saying, "I should start with my name first, right? Part of what I will say is S-class secret. Alright, I'm Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, the son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. On to the next item. Do you all recall the attack on Kaobi 12 years ago? Father killed Kaobi that day, as they told you, correct? That's not the truth, though. You see, Kaobi is the strongest Biju and cannot be killed. Rather, the father sealed it in the infant. It so happened that his son was that newborn. What comes next? You must recall how I vanished 5 years ago, don't you? As you may have noticed yesterday, I was sent on a training trip with a man named Prophet, who was Hinata with Shino. This is where the S-class comes in, though man was not from our universe, you see. Some aliens abducted him from his home planet and sent him to us. After asking Hokage Gigi to make him some weapons, he came here and drove me away. Additionally, he was in his world as a special soldier wearing a so-called Nano Suit. He left me that item when he passed away. Later, I'll demonstrate its capabilities. This is the icing on the cake, though I met Kaobi about a year and a half ago. As it happened, Yoko-san was torn from his precious host, whose name I will not mention, and was compelled to attack Konoha. After our conversation, he is now assisting me in managing his authority and occasionally in combat. I can now use 6 tails of his power as well. So, that's all, Naruto clarified. As they considered everything that Naruto had said, Shino, Hinata, and Kurenai remained silent, but Naruto, who finds silence awkward, spoke up. "So?" Shino raised eyebrow. Well, you don't despise me as much as those foolish peasants who believe I'm Kaobi reincarnated. You are aware, Naruto-san, that I harbor our clan's bugs within my body. Do you believe that I am also a bug? So you see, container and prisoner are not the same thing, Naruto said, shaking his head. I had long heard of Kaobi, Naruto-kun, when I was 4, I overheard my father discussing it with my mother, and because you are too nice and kind to demons. I know you are not Kaobi. Shiked Hinata, Naruto said. As Anko's friend, Naruto-kun, I understand how lonely you felt since you had no chance of stopping that action. I don't believe you are Kaobi, however. I appreciate that you also informed your teammates, Kurenai concluded. It demonstrates that you have enough faith in them to share the majority of your most private secrets with them. Would you kindly share your interests and abilities with us now? Thank you. Guys, my current interests include learning new jutsu, eating ramen, and spending time with friends. I don't like people who think I'm Kaobi reincarnated, such as teams, fangirls, and those who take 3 minutes to make ramen. To Karina's surprise, he said, taijutsu, high-class Sweden and futon ninjutsu, long-range weapons like guns, explosives, and distraction items, and stealth are my skills. My dream is to become Hokage, to protect my precious people. He concluded his list of skills by saying, oh, and I'm proficient in fighting with Ulak blades. I totally suck at genjutsu and I only know how to dispel them. In addition, I possess the Kitsune summoning contract. I can now understand why Hokage-sama put you in this location that had to be a sorely tracking team at first, but with the addition of Hokage-sama, we evolved into a track and capture team that also included infiltration. We will now move on to the genin test of your skills, Kurenai said. Anyo-sensei, we've already tested in the academy, aren't we already genin? Hinata hesitantly asked. You made a good point, Hinata. However, that test was only meant to marry out people who had no hope. Your sensei will test your genin abilities when you are assigned to a team. If not, you will be sent back to the academy, Kurenai retorted. Your goal now is to locate and tag me. However, you must reach me undetected, right? All of the soon-to-be genin nodded when the raven-haired Chunin asked, all right, you have time to find me before sunset. Kurenai puffed in white smoke and said, good luck. Naruto turned to face his team and said, have you put any of your bugs on sensei, Shino? Shino nodded, all right, so this is the strategy. Once we've located the sensei, I'll create a clone that will work with Hinata to secure a position on some high ground while I sneak into sensei in my suit's cloak mode. Shino will hide somewhere close to them when I'm in place. I'll send Mark to a clone, who will instruct Shino to try to divert sensei's attention. I'll stand behind her and hold her back when she's concentrating on Shino, all right? Both young people nodded and took action. Finding Kurenai sitting at a table in a market cafe drinking tea, he created a clone and sent Hinata to the roof with it to prepare his sniper with a sleeping shot if needed. Shino waited for a signal, and Naruto activated his cloak and scuttled into the cafe. As Shino was walking to the cafe, Naruto noticed Kurenai looking a little tense. Seeing his opportunity, he snuck behind her and swiftly twisted her arms behind her back. Gotcha, sensei. He sent Mark to a clone, who then relayed it to Shino. It appears that we passed your test. Not just yet, Naruto. Kurenai retorted. You see, I can still get away. That won't be Vice Sensei. Is that roof across the market visible to you? If you won't resist, I'll shoot you a sleeping shot with my clone and Hinata there. From there, she can easily see most of Konoha, and once she finds you, the clone will shoot right away. Naruto grinned. You seem to have it well planned. Tell me, though, how you got me. Kurenai grinned and said, I didn't notice you. Naruto said simply, cloak of suit. You did very well on the test. Kurenai grinned and said, let's get your teammates together. I have something to tell you. Congratulations on becoming genin. She said, I'm amazed at how quickly you responded to me. You all have my admiration. Come see me at 7 a.m. tomorrow on Training Ground 8. Tomorrow, we will begin training and conducting missions. Dismissed. After saying her goodbyes, she turned to leave the team, and the other members of Team 8 went home to celebrate the start of their careers as genin. A brown, ribboned cat was slinking toward the bush. It was hiding from those who were pursuing it, who were very close. When Cat heard some cracking, she instantly blushed and fled into the forest. Black blur sped through the area a second later. The communicator of the woman with codename Red Eye chirped, Yoko to Red Eye. Target was spotted near my location requesting Lavender Eye to check area for target. Request granted. Lavender Eye investigate. This is Lavender Eye to Yoko. Target is about 200 meters west from your position. Kikai, your position is about 300 meters southwest from target, said a soft voice on the communicator. Once more, Yoko from communicator said, this is Yoko. I see target requesting permission to capture. Red Eye replied, Yoko, you have permission. Go ahead and do it. Soon after, a long string of curses was heard coming from the communicator, along with sounds of scratching and screeching. After a minute, the screeching ceased, and a soft voice spoke from the communicator. Target captured. Ribbon on ear confirms that this is Tora the cat. Also, Yoko suffered scratched face, but nothing serious. It's already healing. Kurenai grinned. She ran toward the tower after saying, good job. Hinata, pick your teammates and meet me in front of the Hokage tower. Her team was in front of her, with Tora contentedly purring in Hinata's arms. Naruto still glaring at the cat with red cheeks. and Shino positioned between the two of them in case Naruto decided to kill the cat. As they entered the tower, Kurenai grinned once more and said, "Nice job team, I'm proud how well you handled situation and coordinated yourself. As reward I'm giving you free rest of day. Now let's hand over Tora." They met Team 7 on the way and Kiba was practically dancing with delight, but Naruto and Sasuke were just glaring at each other. "Guess what guys? We got our first C rank, can you believe it?" Naruto raised an eyebrow. "You sure Teme here with Banshee can handle it, Kiba? I'm confident in your abilities, but those two are just too inexperienced in my opinion. As if you will do better Dobi, I'm sure you would run on first chance when bandits will show up," argued Sasuke. Hinata burst out laughing when Naruto said, "Kiba, you should put your emo pet on leash before he bites someone. You know it's dangerous to let untamed animals run around." Sasuke simply snarled, "See what I mean?" Before Sasuke could react, Kakashi spoke. They went poof, saying, "Team meet me in 2 hours at gate." Dismissed. Team 7 bid farewell. Red. Kiba bid farewell. Sasuke departed with his nose high in the sky, and Sakura, a good fangirl, accompanied him, practically walking on a sacred field. Naruto saw. "I swear, should shinobi be as strong as their ego, Sasuke would be Hokage now." "We know Naruto, we know, but be happy that at last you're on team with us. I heard that before you came Kiba was originally placed on your spot in team, but enough of chit chat, let's handle over Tora," replied Kurenai. The team entered the briefing room where the Fire Country Daimyo's wife was waiting as she choked Tora to death with her bosom. The wife of Daimyo said, "Tora, my poor kitty, I was so worried about you. Here is your payment, Hokage-san." Everyone in the room started to perspire. It makes sense why cats always flee. Hiruzen waved goodbye to Daimyo's wife before turning to face Team 8. Team 8 bowed and departed the tower, saying, "Good job team, we have no more missions for you today, so you're dismissed." Kurenai turned to her team before the tower. The chorus of "Hi Sensei" replied, "Okay, since we have no more missions, you have the rest of the day free. Enjoy your free time and don't get into trouble." Kurenai then departed. Shino then excused himself, saying he had some work in his clan's compound, and departed as well. Hinata was turned on by Naruto. "So Hinata-chan, want to go eat somewhere?" "Hi Naruto-kun, I would like to. I know some nice store where they sell cinnamon buns and some other bakeries." Hinata was blushing. "Okay, lead the way." Hinata and Naruto visited a store. They purchased some cinnamon buns there. They ate them while conversing about various unrelated topics and laughing at their clever jokes while seated beneath a tree. That day, at the Hokage office, at 1800 Sarutobi was smoking his pipe while he leaned back in his chair. Thanks to Kage Bunshin, he had completed his paperwork a long time ago. When one of his shinobi rushed to the office, he made the decision to read his Icha. "Hokage-sama, we have a message from Team 7. They encountered some nuke nins in their mission and request backup." Hiruzen gave orders while he sighed from the impending headache. "Anbu, get me here Team 8 ASAP." With Naruto and Hinata, Naruto asked, "Nay Hinata-chan, what do you want to do?" Blonde put his hand under his chin and considered. "Anyo, I think it would be nice just to sit in some quiet place and watch sky. It's good idea. Also, I know one place no one will disturb us." When Anbu appeared wearing a hawk mask, he grabbed her hand and nearly fled. Naruto muttered a curse. "Uzumaki-san. Hyuga-san, Hokage-sama requires your presence." Anbu poofed away with that. Hi, we're on the way." "Well Hinata-chan, it seemed that I will have to show you that place later." "It's okay Naruto-kun, I understand." Both of them went to the tower. After 10 minutes, as Hiruzen sat in his chair and watched the clouds, Team 8 stood in front of the Hokage's desk. "Team 8, I appreciate that you shown so fast. 10 minutes ago we received message that Team 7 was attacked in their mission by Demon Brothers. Nuke Nin from Hidden Mist Village. They defeated them and then found that their target was bridge builder Kakashi. Then immediately sent request for backup. Your mission is to assist Team 7 until end of their mission, understood?" Team 8 gave a nod. Hiruzen concluded, "Good, now, I want you to head out immediately." Dismissed. Team 8 left the office with a bow. "In an hour," Kurenai said, "go pack and meet me at the gate." After running to his apartment, Naruto packed his belongings. He took out his pistol, Scar rifle, Ulax, 2 frag grenades in case of emergency, and roughly 10 flashbang grenades from his scroll that was concealed in his cloak. He then filled the storage scroll with food, a tent, a sleeping bag, and other supplies. He took his cloak off his bed, tucked his gear beneath it, and concealed a scroll inside. He had grenades in his pouch, pistols on his thighs, and Ulax and Scar strapped to his back. Verifying that he has everything, he left to gate. After sealing 30 more grenades and a shotgun sniper, he realized he was the first person there, so he waited for his team while sitting beneath a tree. After 10 minutes, Shino appeared sitting next to Naruto. Carrying a backpack, Kurenai and Hinata arrived 5 more minutes later. Kurenai was inspecting her team's equipment when she saw that Naruto was missing his backpack. Naruto. Where's your backpack? Naruto asked, pulling out his storage scroll and opening his cloak. Ah, okay, so as you heard, we were sent to help Team 7. I want every one of you to be focused on mission, okay? Good, now hurry up, I hope we will catch them before some trouble come up. Kurenai replied. After that, Team 8 leapt into trees and headed toward Team 7. They discovered some holes in the road after running for about an hour as Hinata leapt into another tree. She remarked, this must be where Team 7 engaged Demon Brothers, this mean we were close to them. Alongside Team 7, Kakashi muttered an expletive. Momochi Zabuza, a class noob nin from Kirigakure, attacked them while his team was protecting the bridge builder. Kakashi confronted him. Kakashi's battle went well, but Zabuza caught him using Suiru no Jutsu. Zabuza's Mizu Bunshins destroyed his team while they were playing on heroes. Kakashi yelled at Sasuke and Kiba, stop playing on heroes and get away from here, you don't stand a chance against someone like Zabuza. Naturally, neither of them paid attention. After attacking Bunshins, Kiba was kicked in the stomach and sent back with a smile on his face. Sasuke pulled out one of his windmill shurikens and hurled it at the actual Zabuza. He grabbed shuriken with his free hand and said, "Brat, are you serious? Something like this can't even hit me." Sasuke muttered out a curse, then something unexpected occurred. Kakashi was freed from water prison when the real Zabuza was flung on his back and all of the Mizu Bunshins scattered back into the water. Zabuza stood up, complaining, and said, "What the hell was this?" As he and Zabuza performed some hand seals, Kakashi remarked, "Dunno Zabuza, but right now you in here. Sweden." When large water dragons emerged from the lake's surface and engaged in combat, Suiryuden yelled when Suiryuden's shout came from the side. Zabuza immediately began another round of hand seals. Then, another water dragon struck Zabuza, sending him into a tree. While the rest of Team 8 landed close to Team 7 and the bridge builder, Kakashi searched for the dragon's origin when he noticed a person standing on water with a blonde hairstyle and a Konoha headband. Naruto said, "Team 8 reporting for duty, Kakashi-sensei." Kakashi questioned, "Naruto, what are you doing here?" "We were sent by Gigi as backup for your team, but for now who are we facing?" replied the blonde. "Momochi Zabuza, demon of hidden mist." "Momochi Zabuza? Why it seem familiar?" "Aw, never mind, I can't remember," said Naruto. As he turned on Zabuza, who Naruto had pinned to a tree, Kakashi started to perspire. He said, "I think it's time to die, Zabuza." A second later, 2 senbons struck Zabuza from the side and pierced his neck. Immediately Hunter nin females then leapt into the clearing. "Thank you for distracting him, I is tracking him down a long time." Hunter replied. Hunter said, "No, it won't be necessary." Kakashi Ui grinned and said, "No problem, do you need help with disposing of body?" Before picking up the body as she performed shunshin from clearing, Kakashi's eyes widened and he rushed to the hunter. He muttered something while cursing and turning on Naruto, who had a hand under his chin. A millisecond later, he yelled, "Got it?" Needless to say, this statement left everyone perplexed. "Got what, Naruto?" Kurenai inquired. "I remember why Zabuza's name seemed familiar. I was asked to do something just in case I meet him by May," explained the blonde. He asked, glancing around, "Where is Zabuza, by the way?" Kakashi palmed his face and said, "Naruto took Zabuza away 3 minutes ago with just one fake Hunter nin, therefore, you have to wait until he attacks again if you want anything from him." "Huh? Fake Hunter nin? So that was that nice scent I smelled?" Hinata became a little depressed upon hearing this. "Naruto-kun says she has a pleasant scent. I knew I never had a chance," Shy Hyuga exclaimed. "You could smell her? How? Not even I could do it and knows of our clan is best?" said Kiba. "You know, Kiba, I got a friend of mine that granted me smell and sight similar to fox, and as you surely know, foxes are known for better smell than dogs," said Naruto. "Tell Kakashi. Okay, let's head to Tazuna's house before someone else attacks us." Before he fell to the ground, he took one step. Naruto sprinted over to him and knelt beside him. He picked Kakashi off the ground while hiding his Sharingan eye, then he followed his team and Team 7. Kurenai questioned, "What is with Kakashi, Naruto?" "He got severe chakra exhaustion, nothing serious, but he will be out of commission for it last week," stated Naruto. Tazuna's residence. "I'm home." Tazuna shouted. A woman with long raven hair, black eyes, and a nice figure came running from the kitchen and gave Tazuna a hug. She said, "Father." She then observed Teams 7 and 8. "Tsunami, these are ninja I hired to protect me." Team 7. Team 8, "This is my daughter Tsunami." Tsunami bowed courteously to them. Kakashi gave her his UI smile and said, "Thank you for protecting my father." As she escorted them to the kitchen, Tsunami remarked, "There is no need to thank Tsunami-san. Yet, thank you. Come. Dinner will be ready soon." Zabuza's hiding place. As the hunter took the senbon off Zabuza's neck, he moaned. Haku took off her mask and grinned at Zabuza. "Ah, why are you so sadistic, Haku? That wasn't necessary, and why are you still wearing that stupid mask?" she asked. "I like that mask, Zabuza-sama. Also, that wasn't sadistic. I could have aimed for pressure point in yours crotch instead of neck, you know." She innocently grinned. Zabuza cringed and covered his crotch. A voice from the doors said, "I wanted bridge builder dead, Zabuza. So disappointing. Maybe you're just useless." When Haku heard it, she frowned. She spat. "What do you want, Gato?" "Dead bridge builder, that's what I want, and you let him go." Gato grumbled. "Bridge builder will be dead before the bridge is finished," stated Zabuza. Gato left a threat in the air, but all of a sudden he was holding a piece of ice against his neck. "He better be, or," as Haku snarled, "watch who you are threatening, scumbag." When Gato's bodyguards tried to draw their swords, they discovered that they were frozen to sheets. Zabuza said, "Enough, Haku." Gato pulled away from Haku, who glared at her. "Look, Gato, I said that bridge builder will be dead, so can you now leave before Haku here lose her control and kills you?" replied Zabuza. Gato gave him a glare and walked away with a sigh. Haku switched on Zabuza. The girl said, "I don't trust him, Zabuza-sama." The swordsman turned to a seemingly empty corner and said, "I know, Haku, me neither, but we need money, so what did you find, Mike?" Suddenly, a shadow-covered figure appeared out of thin air. "Gato plans to betray you once you kill bridge builder. I heard him speaking to his men. He also plans to send 2 of his best men to capture Tazuna's daughter and grandchild." The individual in question, Zabuza shrugged and said, "So we will have to kill him, pity." The home of Tazuna. Sasuke abruptly approached Naruto as he was sitting on the couch contemplating training. "Train me, Dobi." Only Naruto questioned, "Why? You're strong, you can train me to kill him? So you're seeking power only for revenge? Then I won't train you," replied the blonde. When Sasuke punched him, he considered taking his rifle training to the next level. An irate Jinchuriki hissed, "What was that for? You know, I thought you're strong, but now I see you're only pathetic fool who don't know how to use power. I should take it from you, same as that blue-haired bitch of yours, to start reviving my clan by Kugan would make Sharingan only stronger," screamed Sasuke. Naruto felt enraged. Kaobi made an instant attempt to soothe Naruto, but it was ineffective. "So you say power is only for ruling and conquering? Only for dominating the world? You're so obsessed with power that it won't allow see straight. You now answered your question why I don't train you, Sasuke. Instead of you see power as a tool to protect mine precious people. You know I would pass you insulting me, but insulting or threatening my precious people is another story. Now feel consequences of your actions," Naruto replied. When Sasuke saw Naruto's eyes turn from deep blue to crimson red, he shuddered and felt a chill go down his spine. When he sensed Naruto's chakra spike, he took a slight step back, and the next thing he knew, his face was buried in the wall. Kurenai and the rest of the group helped Kakashi run to them, but they were stopped in their tracks when they noticed Sasuke attempting to remove his face from the wall. She screamed, "Naruto Baka, what did you do to Sasuke-kun? Why did you attack him?" Naruto gave her a glare and growled, "Shut up, Banshee." Sakura flinched as those red eyes met hers. Kurenai approached Naruto with caution, saying, "Teme over there deserved what he got." Naruto cooled slightly, but not enough to restore the normal color of his eyes. Naruto glanced at Kurenai and asked, "Naruto, what happened?" "Teme came to me to demand training. I asked why he wanted power and he said for revenge. I refused and he punched me in face and then threatened to rape Hinata to have child with her. I got angry and you see result," explained in the Naruto cube. When they heard this, everyone except Sakura appeared disgusted. Sakura was interrupted by Hinata, who glared at her. "And you got angry for this? She should be honored to bear Sasuke-kun's child. You should be honored to be. Listen, you pink-haired bitch, I got no desire in you spoiled Uchiha brat, and I will never have. My heart is only for one man, but it's not your idiotic Uchiha. Now shut up." Everyone had bug eyes. The fact that Hinata, a shy, timid, and kind girl, actually insulted someone did not make her angry at last. Sasuke removed his head from the wall and faced Naruto. "How dare you? I'm an Uchiha, an elite. You should be begging for forgiveness now and giving me that bitch of yours as gift." As Naruto walked slowly toward Uchiha, his eyes changed once more. "Listen, you spoiled bastard, cuz I will say this only once. Shut the fuck up or I will rip off your balls and feed them to my summons." He turned to the doors. Kurenai said, "Naruto, where are you going?" He replied, "Cool down, sensei," and walked away. Kakashi looked over at Sasuke. "Sasuke, I'm disappointed in you. You not only attacked comrade but you threatened to rape another. You should be glad I don't put this into report. As if it would matter. Council will just ignore it." Uchiha replied arrogantly. Kakashi let it go, turned around, and returned to the kitchen. Hinata looked over at Kurenai leaving to find Naruto. He said, "Sensei, I know you won't approve, but I'm going to find Naruto-kun." Kurenai simply sighed and went back to the kitchen with the others. Rooftop Naruto was sitting on the roof, letting his rage out. He was talking to Prophet and Kaobi shortly after leaving the room and entering the roof. Kid, I say rip off Uchiha's balls and force him to eat them. You would make world honor of wiping that clan from history. Let Kaobi know what you think. I know Yoko-san, but I can't do it because those old geezers on council will immediately call for my execution even with Hiyashi backing me because of what Teme threatened Hinata-chan. I know they would at last banish me, countered Naruto. Then learn Fuinjutsu how you intended and make some seal and place it on Uchiha to make him sterile. It would still make favor to world. Suggested the Prophet. Man, it's not a bad idea, but still I think those old fossils have some Enbu in Konoha keeping eye on Teme, but still it's tempting. Naruto was once more turned down. Prophet and Kaobi intended to continue their argument, but Naruto's noise interrupted them with one of Ulac's in his hand. Naruto leapt to his feet. He relaxed and put Ulac back where it belonged. When he noticed Hinata standing there, Naruto grinned and gestured for Hinata-chan to sit next to him. Hey Hinata-chan, please don't sneak like that on me. You nearly gave me heart attack. Hinata fumbled with her fingers and flushed. Naruto said, so what are you doing here? I'm sure you have something else to do than just sitting here with me doing nothing. Hinata was instantly saddened by this and replied they had been sitting there gazing at the sea and the surrounding forest. Naruto glanced at her before grinning kindly. No, it's nice to sit here with you. Naruto-kun, I also wanted to thank you for defending me from Sasuke-san. I'm glad you did it. Even though Naruto whispered the final line, Hinata could still hear it. No, it's my pleasure. Hinata-chan, I would never anyone rape some girl in my presence that, and also I like you. She forced herself to ask him after gasping in shock, and Naruto-kun, what did you said? Huh? You mean that I would never let anyone rape woman in my presence? And know what you said after it? Wait, you heard it? Shocked Naruto when Hinata nodded. He palmed his face. Well, you know, when I returned I somehow noticed you and your feeling for me, that in some of those training seasons we had together, and I realized I somehow like you with help of Kaobi. Wait, you know about my feelings? Hinata's face turned a stunning shade of red. Naruto rubbed his head sheepishly and acknowledged, yeah. I realized them first day in academy after my return. Then he became serious once more. Anyo, Hinata-chan, I have a question for you. Naruto-kun? Hinata's eyebrow went up. Naruto rubbed his head and said, Anyo, Hinata-chan, will you be my girlfriend? Hinata believed she was having a dream. Please, it isn't possible. I am being asked to be Naruto-kun's girlfriend. Don't let this be a dream. Kami, don't let it be a dream. Please? Hinata-chan? Whispered Naruto uneasily. Naruto-kun, this isn't a dream, is it? Hinata asked, jolting out of her daze. Well, the last time I checked, I was awake, so do you want to accept? Yes, she exclaimed, tackling and hugging Naruto with all her strength before blushing wildly when she realized what she had just done. When Naruto kissed her on the lips, she stopped saying, I'm sorry Naruto-kun, Before she responded and they began making out on the roof, her mind simply exploded. For the first 3 seconds they had been making out for about 5 minutes when they parted, and both of them were panting heavily with a joyful sigh. Hinata lay on the roof and dragged Naruto while cuddling up to him. They were both there to enjoy each other's company and watch the stars, so they were even unaware of when sleep took them. The following morning Hinata cuddled up to her pillow and listened to its steady heartbeat, enjoying its warmth. Heartbeat. Wait. When did pillows start to warm up and beat? Her face turned red at the sight of the sun-kissed blonde hair and whiskered face as she slowly opened her lavender eyes. Oh my. I slept in Naruto-kun's hands, but it felt so good, she said, nodding off. After opening his eyes and stirring slightly, Naruto grinned and said, Good morning, Hinata-heim, did you have a good night's sleep? He gave her a nickname, which made Hinata blush even more. Hi Naruto-kun. I slept really well, however, I believe we ought to go back to the house. Sensei must be extremely anxious about us. Naruto nodded, extended his arms, and assisted Hinata in getting to her feet. All of the current residents were seated in the kitchen when they entered the house, and Kurenai was actually glaring at Naruto. Where were you two, Naruto? She added, I hope nothing happened for your own sake. Naruto sighed and then inquired, Sensei, did you or anyone else hear anything from the roof? Then you got both your answers, said the room, with everyone shaking their heads. The remainder of the day passed slowly as the Genins trained under the supervision of Kakashi, who was able to walk with the aid of Crooks and Kurenai, who were watching over Tazuna at the bridge. After 3 days, although Naruto and Hinata were able to conceal their relationship during that period, Kakashi and Kurenai still observed the glances they exchanged with each other during meals or while on guard duty, and they continued to meet every evening on the roof to gaze at the stars. Now that evening had arrived, Everyone in the house was seated quietly at the table eating dinner. No one spoke until Son of Tsunami finished the meal and said, "Why?" Everyone in the room was perplexed. "Why? Why do you continue to try? Do you not realize that you will simply perish if you oppose Gato?" Inari shouted. "Listen, brat, I don't intend to die anytime soon," Naruto said. "Gato is just a regular person, just like everyone else, and he is capable of being killed." This infuriated Inari, who said, "Why don't you just go to your families? You just need help it a little. Why even try to assist us common mortals? How much do you know about pain?" As Naruto released a great deal of killer intent, the room's temperature dropped, and he turned to face Inari, who was frightened by the fact that Naruto's eyes were red once more. "You said suffering? You little piece of shit, what do you think you know about suffering? Having your grandfather and mother is still a blessing. Have you ever been hunted down, fatally stabbed, tortured, or burned because you had no other option? When you were 4 years old, were you abandoned to live on the streets for 2 years? When one of the 9 Biju attacked the village on your birthday, were you beaten by a group of irate villagers and shinobi who had lost loved ones on that day? Were you?" At the end, his voice turned demonic. Then, as doors slammed behind him, everyone cringed as Naruto got up from the table and marched out of the house. When Sakura asked, "Sensei, is that true?" Kakashi sighed. The girls were crying by this point, and Kakashi sighed once more before responding. What Naruto said was, I think, 1/3 of what he had to endure. Hinata got up and started to head for the doors, but Kurenai stopped her, saying, "Let him cool down, Hinata. I believe he will require it." Hinata nodded, but as she went back to her seat, she exuded sadness. A few haphazard forest clearings. When you looked around the clearing, you would see holes of all sizes, some the size of miniature craters, and many of them snapped in half. Some smashed to pieces when Naruto punched or kicked them in anger. Naruto took a deep breath to cool his head before he blacked out and collapsed on the ground. Naruto slammed another punch to the tree, powered by Kyuubi's chakra, and he panted as the tree snapped in half instead of the punch. The following morning, Haku hummed a random song while carrying a basket of herbs, hoping to find some more to make a marrow ointment for Zabuza's recovery. She arrived at the clearing when she noticed the damage there, and as she looked around, she noticed something lying in the grass. Upon closer inspection, she recognized Naruto and said, "It's the kid who beat Zabuza-sama. I must be careful around him." She looked at him a little more closely, blushing when she saw his muscles. Naruto moaned and rubbed his eyes, saying, "Wake up, mister." She decided to wake him up and shook his shoulders. "Aw man, I had a nice dream." "Hey, who are you?" When he saw Haku, he inquired. "My name is Haku after all." She was searching for herbs for Zabuza, so she half lied when she said, "I'm a civilian looking here for herbs, but when I came here I saw place destroyed and you lying here." "Anyo, someone angered me and I went to blow off some steam," said Naruto, rubbing his back sheepishly. "I see. You're a ninja, then?" "Yes, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm a ninja. Do you need assistance selecting those herbs?" After giving it some thought, Haku nodded. They talked about various topics while gathering herbs. "So, Naruto-san, do you have any special people in your life?" "Yeah, I got a few precious persons," Haku said, blushing again as Naruto smiled at her. "I am also aware that the only way to truly be strong is to defend the people you care about." Haku grinned as well. When Naruto asked Haku a question, they resumed their herb picking. "Haku-san, may I ask you a question?" Haku thought about it before she nodded. "Thanks, please let Zabuza know that I have a message for him." Before she realized what he had said, Haku nodded and smiled, and she jumped up and started making senbon out of ice. "How are you aware? Now, don't be jittery." She demanded. "You smell exactly like Hunter Nin, who took Zabuza, so I knew all the time. And if you're wondering how it's possible, let me just say that one of my friends really helped me," Naruto said coolly. Then, before turning to face Haku, he got up and started to walk away, saying, "I just asked for a chance to tell him that message." He left after saying, "I'll see you on the bridge tomorrow." Haku looked at his position before grabbing her basket and hiding away. The home of Tazuna. Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, Tazuna, and Tsunami tensed as Naruto entered the house and proceeded into the living room, but they relaxed when he smiled at them. "So you cooled down?" Kakashi replied, "Yeah, I'm all right now." Before he could finish, he was tackled to the ground by something, and when he looked, he saw a mess of blue hair. "Do you know where Hinata or the rest of his might?" "I was worried, Naruto-kun, that something happened to you," Hinata said, crying a little. "I am acquainted with him." He turned his head to the side and saw Kurenai with her arms folded and her foot tapping the floor. Explanation now. The blonde grinned at Hinata. "I needed to blow off some steam, but I'm okay now," the red-eyed Chunin said. "Anyo-sensei, do you recall my first outburst 4 days ago? How did Hinata and I spend the night on the roof?" We had a brief conversation, and as a result, we began dating. Kurenai grinned and told Kakashi. Pay up. When Kakashi pulled out some ryo and gave them to Kurenai, the room fell silent. Now that everyone is here, we need to make plans for tomorrow. We haven't seen each other in a week, and I have no doubt that he will attack tomorrow, Kakashi said. The following day. Why do we have to guard the house, man? Naruto moaned once more, and Hinata sighed before clarifying once more. Naruto-kun, we talked about it yesterday. Naruto nodded, but he was still upset because he had intended to speak with Zabuza and Haku and try to persuade them to cease fighting. Both sensei believe Gato will attempt to take hostages, and Kakashi sensei's team has a better chance to defeat Zabuza and his accomplice. One of them said, shit, Zori here weren't supposed to be shinobi. He and his group were sitting in the living room when they heard a noise coming from the kitchen. Naruto leapt up and ran there, where Tsunami was fighting two thugs that Gato had sent, and Inari was lying at the base of the wall. Both thugs froze when the group entered. Well, yours bad, Naruto said. Should have gotten some information before coming here. He then vanished and reappeared between thugs, quickly choking them in the neck to knock them out. Now, sensei, what are we going to do? Kurenai rubbed her temples and said, all right, Naruto, you can go to the bridge and help Kakashi and his group. I really need to get on the bridge. While Hinata and Shino tied thugs with rope and looked through their pockets for cash or anything else of value, Naruto leapt to his feet and fled the house. What will we do, sensei? Asked Shino. Well, we'll watch over the house, wait for those two to wake up, and then question them. Hinata checks the area for any additional intruders. Kurenai gave the order for blue-haired Hyuga. In the meantime, on the bridge, after arriving at the bridge in dense fog, Kakashi, Tazuna, and Team 7 surveyed the area until Sakura noticed some workers lying on the ground. What happened here, Shizaru? Everybody was on high alert now. Be on guard, guys. We don't know where he is, Kakashi said to his genins. It was the D-Demon, said the man before going black. At this point, they noticed two figures moving through the fog. Eventually, they identified them as Zabuza and a female hunter Nin. Well, look what we have here. Haku, where's the blonde brat, Kakashi? Zabuza said, I got some info, he wants to speak with me. Kakashi became a little suspicious and asked himself, why Naruto wants to speak with Zabuza. Before responding, I don't know where he is, but enough babbling, we have work to do. When 6 water clones suddenly surrounded the bride builder and Team 7, Zabuza smiled and said, man, we might as well amuse ourselves before Brad arrives. Zabuza then turned to face the trembling Sasuke and said, look at him, Kakashi. Sasuke smirked and said, I'm not scared, he's so scared that it's even visible. Zabuza looked at this with amusement and said to Haku, well, Haku looks like Brad is fast. Sasuke, do it. Then, Sasuke vanished, and all 6 clones vanished back into the water. Haku nodded and said, it seems so, Zabuza-sama. Well, what are you waiting for? He might be a challenge for you, go have fun. Sasuke and Haku charged and fought in the center, with Kiba supporting Sasuke. Sasuke tried to use his kunai to subdue Haku, but was taken aback by how strong she appeared. You have 3 disadvantages here, he said. Haku said, we're surrounded by water. Second, one of your hands is occupied, so you can't make hand seals. Third, while you can't make seals, I can. She then executed a one-handed seal and used Hajutsu, in which thousands of water needles of death formed needles out of the water all around them. Sasuke hurried away, but he was still struck by some of the needles. Well, it seems that you got some skill after all, Haku said, putting some distance between herself and Sasuke. She took 2 needles out of her holster and was about to attack Sasuke, hoping to hit some of his pressure points, but she was stopped when 2 whirlwinds descended on her. She was able to dodge, but the second one hit her in the stomach, sending her to the ground. However, she began to make hand seals. Hyutan. Demonic ice mirrors. Haku screamed, and Sasuke and Kiba created ice mirrors all around her. Sasuke tried to flee, but just before the gap between the mirrors, Haku appeared and kicked him in the stomach. He rolled onto the ground and cried out, Kaden. Gukakyu no Jutsu. As a large fireball flew through the air on the mirrors, he watched with a smirk as the fireball exploded, but his smirk disappeared when the explosion disappeared and revealed an unscratched mirror. I use ice that has been strengthened by chakras to make my mirrors. Haku told them that normal flames are not enough to melt it. Then, Kiba and Sasuke were hit by a shower of needles, and when it was all over, both bodies resembled pincushions. She emerged from the mirrors and approached the 2 boys, saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this, but our situation requires it. She prepared 2 needles and aimed for their hearts, but before she could throw them, Something stopped her hand. Haku was searching for anyone nearby until something caught her attention. Suddenly, a person in pulsing armor appeared, and he said, "Sorry Haku-chan, I would love to let you kill them, but they are my comrades." Then, Sasuke and Kiba collapsed, and the armor on his head vanished, exposing Uzumaki's unruly blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks on both cheeks. Haku stared at him in disbelief, then blushed when she realized how he had called her, once more. Haku's eyes widened when she saw Zabuza immobilized by summoned dogs and quickly created an ice mirror. Naruto darted to Kakashi and hoped he wouldn't be late. She cancelled her jutsu and smiled at Naruto as they heard the sound of chirping birds and the mist lifted, revealing Kakashi running at Zabuza with a lightning-covered hand. Kakashi was only a few steps ahead of Zabuza when a series of events occurred. First, a mirror appeared next to Zabuza, from which Haku emerged and used her body to shield Zabuza. Second, Naruto appeared in pulsing armor, one step ahead of Haku, prepared to sweep Kakashi from his legs. And finally, something grabbed Kakashi's wrist with Chidori. While Kakashi and Naruto searched for the reason, Zabuza grinned and then a second figure appeared next to Kakashi in red glowing armor. "Good to see ya again, Mike," Zabuza said, and in Naruto's mind, Prophet had bug eyes and his mind was racing. "Hey Prophet, do you know who he is?" "Yeah, if I'm correct, he is part of Raptor team name Michael Sykes, codename Psycho. Try calling him Psycho. I think he will respond." Naruto nodded in his head. "You're wearing that Nano Suit, you won't be known as Psycho, will you?" asked Naruto. Psycho was in state of mild shock that someone from this world knew about Nano Suit. But then he noticed Naruto in slightly different suit. "Yeah, how do you know? Oh my god, that's Nano Suit. How in the world do you have it?" "Well, I was Prophet's apprentice," Naruto replied, "but that's a long story, I'll tell you later." "K. I'm excited about this. However, we have some issues. Gato has made the decision to come here with his thugs rather than wait until we finish the job. He ought to arrive at any moment." When they turned to see where the clapping was coming from, they discovered Gato standing at the end of the bridge with an army of thugs. "And you're calling yourself Demon Zabuza? All you are is a helpless chibi demon. You are aware that I never planned to pay you after your work was done. Oh, and I'll make that bitch of yours my new personal slave after you're dead, and based on the information I've received, I believe Kumo will pay an incredible sum of money for that." Hyuga the businessman said. "Man, I can't wait." "Zabuza, I hope you don't mind if I kill that motherfucker now," Naruto said. His face flushed. Zabuza swallowed and nodded. "Nope kid, he's all yours. Because if yes, you're unlucky," he said, as a sinister red chakra flared around him once more. Naruto smirked as he looked at him with his now red eyes, and Gato laughed, saying, "I think it won't be as easy as we got advance in numbers." "You think so?" Bunshin no Jutsu, Cage. In puffs of smoke, 20 clones appeared in 2 rows of 10 each, with the first row crouching and the clones pulling out their scars. "You know Gato, because you should never insult ninja. The clones said you never know when they might become extremely wealthy. Oh, and you should feel honored because I haven't used bullets in place of chakra in a very long time. Battalion fire," Naruto yelled. Clones then began firing, followed by a thunderclap. Gato's army never stood a chance. Many of the thugs died with multiple holes in their bodies, such as in their head or in their knees, elbows, or spines, while others were crippled by bullets that flew into their knees, elbows, or spines before dying when the fire finally went out. However, Naruto pulled out one of his pistols, fired a bullet into Gato's head, and when the bullet exploded upon contact, Gato's head exploded into a shower of blood, bones, and brain, and the businessman's headless body fell backwards from the bridge into the water. When they finally awoke from their shock, Psycho was the first to speak. "Wow, I saw this last time when Nomad decimated that port on Ling's Hall Islands." To say that the rest of the group was shocked would be equivalent to saying Namikaze Minato was weak. "Where did you find that scar, kid?" "I'll tell you in the house tomorrow." Naruto slapped himself across the forehead as he turned to go, saying, "Shit, I almost forgot. I'm tired now, sensei, so let's head back to the house. I received a message from the new Mizukage, Zabuza. She warned me that if I encounter a browless freak brandishing a huge sword, I should inform him that his fiancée is waiting for him and has placed a bounty on his head." "Wait kid, you're telling me that rumors about the new Mizukage are true?" Zabuza asked, looking perplexed. "And Meiterumi is the only one?" Naruto nodded and said, "Yeah, I helped her sit down by defeating Yagura. This implies that we are no longer adversaries, correct?" Zabuza nodded now. "Yes. The contract is now null and void due to Gato's passing." Tazuna nodded. "I apologize for attacking you, Tazuna-san, but my job is a job, and I just happened to be killing you." It's comforting to know that Gato is no longer alive because of your assistance in luring him out of his hiding place. The group gave a small cheer before Naruto let out a loud yawn, saying, I don't know how you do it, but I need a long nap right now before following Naruto. The rest of the group picked up Sasuke and Kiba, who were unconscious, and said, come on, let's go to the house. Wait, kid, you and Prophet really accomplished something that took Hargreave and his brainers almost 6 years in just 2 years, without the use of any mechanics, and using homemade tools and parts? Psycho grabbed his jaw. Naruto just finished describing to Haku, Zabuza, and Psycho how he learned about Prophet, his village condition, and his Nano Suit. Yeah, that's correct. How did you and Nomad fare after Prophet vanished, Psycho? Naruto said. Well, when he was kidnapped by that Seth Nomad, he found hostages and managed to get them into safety, Psycho explained, massaging his temples. After taking control of one island port, we launched a full-scale attack on the mountain in the center of the island where Kajong had the remaining hostages trapped in mines. Nomad killed him, saved Rosenthal's daughter, and found himself stranded in mine with no escape except via a static Seth ship. He fought his way out, and when he got out of the ship's radius, the mountain was frozen in a sphere of some sort, about a kilometer around. In the meantime, I secured a wagon on the opposite side of the island using an inactive fossil of an alien nomad I had previously encountered. After that, we left the island. We lost Strickland in the process because he gave his life to allow VTOL and Nomad to escape after being attacked by a large motherfucker brandishing a shield. We reconnected on an aircraft carrier, from which a general later dropped a nuclear-armed aircraft on the island, further complicating matters. Finally, Helena, Rosenthal's daughter, altered the Nomad suit to become a walking weapon against Seth prior to the rocket's launch. When we lost the carrier to the fucking massive battleship of Seth, which Nomad sent to hell with a nuclear weapon prototype that was modified to fit the suit, it was all over. We then returned to the island, where Helena's series of suit pulses caused Nomad to destroy the SEHP ship from within. Hargreave got in touch with us after we traveled back to America via Japan. Nomad got your version of the suit and was elevated to squad leader. Seth launched an invasion in New York 2 years later. Although we managed to stop Seth, Nomad was still infected with the Seth virus. He gave him a suit and shot himself after saving him from a sunk sub-soldier known as Alcatraz. Psycho concluded his story by saying, I was sent to bring Alcatraz to Hargreave, but when I finally encountered him, I ended here about a year ago. Oh, I apologize for Nomad. From what Prophet told me, he was a good comrade now. Zabuza, Psycho, what would you like to do? Naruto said, well, I'll go back to Kiri and finally get married to Mei. Psycho sighed and said, well, I'll accompany you to Konoha. Zabuza shrugged with a joyful smile. I have some practical skills, and I can be a great assassin if you can get me a decent sniper rifle and a scar. Yeah, I think we would be able to make you some, Naruto said to Psycho after nodding absently for 5 minutes. Before Gigi gives you a new order, I can lend you mine in order to use chakra bullets. I also advise you to get some chakra training. Haku-chan taught me how to control chakra already if given the chance. She is a fantastic teacher and a superb medic, even though she currently only has ointments and herbs because we never had a chance to teach someone her medical jutsu. Psycho interrupted him. After giving a nod, Naruto took his sniper rifle off his back and allowed Psycho to inspect it. As he did so, he whistled in wonder. Man, kid, who made this baby? Naruto laughed at the idea, saying, well, Prophet and I made it. It's better than half of the guns I saw in the US Army. Just obtaining the materials took us nearly a year. Then, it took 3 more months to finish. What is it made of? An enthusiastic Psycho asked. In the meantime, in the kitchen, Tsunami, Hinata, and Haku were cooking for the house's occupants. It turned out that Haku enjoyed cooking just as much as Hinata did, and they were both delighted to assist Tsunami. Girls, could you please set the table? In a little while, our meal will be ready. Both girls nodded, then picked up dishes and set them on the table. When Haku inquired, they were nearly done. So, Hinata-san, how do you feel about Naruto-kun? Well, what do you think? Hinata raised an eyebrow. Do you mean that I have feelings for him, or that I'm his girlfriend? Well, I'm his girlfriend now, the Hyuga heiress explained. Haku exuded a dejected aura as soon as Hinata said those words. Hinata noticed and remarked, Haku-san, you also like him, don't you? Well, if you love him and he will love you back, I have no problem with sharing him. Haku blushed, but he continued to nod. Why? Why would you let another girl have him? Well, I don't believe what I'm about to say, but he's practically unstoppable, Hinata sighed. Also, I want him to be happy, and I won't mind if he's with more than one girl. And I bet with his stamina he has. I bet it would be hell to satisfy him in bed. She blushed. A little blood dripping from her nose as Haku's face flushed. Tsunami called on them from the kitchen and said, "Meal is ready. Call others to table." Haku obeyed and called everyone to the table while Hinata finished the table. "I just love him too much to let him go because he wants to have another girl," she said with a kind and loving smile. As they finished their well-prepared meal, everyone ate in silence. Kurenai then asked Tazuna, "Tazuna-san, when will the bridge be finished?" Tazuna scratched his head and said, "Well, with speed how it going, I think in 3 days." Kurenai nodded and stood up when Tazuna went to bridge with Kakashi and Team 7, while the others stayed at home because they had the day off or had no mission. "Well, what is it?" the girls said as they dragged Naruto into their room, where he sat on a chair with his back to the door and the girls sat on a bed facing him. "They have to tell him something important," they said. He said, "Naruto-kun, Haku-chan has something to tell you." Hinata said, "Well, Naruto-kun, you see when I met you on that clearing something in me changed." He looked at Haku questioningly as she began to writhe under his gaze, but she was able to get out of him after Hinata nudged her to her ribs. She took a deep breath and said, "Naruto-kun, I like you." Her face was bright red. "I didn't know what it was, but after the bridge incident I realized what it is." She blushed more and began to make little circles with her leg while staring at Naruto's wide eyes. He finally awoke from his reverie and answered, "Anyo Haku-chan, I also like you at last a little. I do not wish to harm Hinata-chan," though he sighed, "I don't know what to do." Hinata smirked and said to Naruto, "Well, Naru-kun, I know the perfect response." Both of them exchanged a curious glance. While still grinning, Hinata turned on Haku, seized her by the collar, and planted a full-mouthed kiss on her lips. Haku froze, and Naruto watched them with wide eyes while battling a nosebleed. Unfortunately, he lost it and was flung back through the door from the room, directly in front of Zabuza, who gave him a curious look. "What happened, kid?" "Nothing. I just saw something interesting," Naruto got up and said, ignoring Zabuza's questioning glance. "I take it was yes," he said, sweeping the remaining blood from his face as he entered the room and shut the doors. Hinata nodded and grinned. "So now just decide if we will keep it secret for now or let others know," Naruto said. "Let the others know what, kid?" "Anyo, you see Zabuza, it's just that Haku-chan wants to be my girlfriend," Zabuza said, snaking indoors as Haku, Hinata, and Naruto leapt into the air before the blonde scratched his head. "I assumed you already had a girlfriend," Zabuza said, raising an eyebrow. "Additionally, I am aware that polygamy is prohibited in Konoha," Naruto said, glancing down at his feet. "However, a law known as the Clan Restoration Act, or CRA, permits the last male of a clan to take more than one wife." "Oh really? However, which clan are you the last from?" "I'm from 2 clans, and I'm the last heir to both of them." Naruto sighed once more. "The first is from Uzumaki, a former whirlpool village. The second one is not so well known until one of its last members," Zabuza said, nodding in agreement. "I believe you heard about them, Zabuza?" "Namikaze is the clan's name." Naruto observed this from the window. "Namikaze, that's the name, huh?" With saucer-like eyes, Zabuza said, "Yeah, I am the son of Namikaze Minato. Please don't tell me that, kid." In the meantime, Zabuza processed this information. "Well, Naruto, I see you got some big name in bag. Otherwise known as Yellow Flash, or..." Naruto sighed at this. "Or Yandaime Hokage of Konoha." The girls picked their jaws off the floor and then stepped to him and hugged Naruto. "Is the village council aware of it?" Naruto gave a headshake. A moment later, Haku recalled, "Naruto-kun, that means your own father sealed Kaobi into you." Naruto grinned and stroked her head, saying, "Yeah, Haku-chan, he did." "I don't blame him," though he then gave both girls a hug in return, and Zabuza grinned as he walked out of the room. After all, what Hokage would he be if he wanted something from someone that he couldn't do himself? Later that day, in the evening, Haku and Zabuza were packing their belongings in their room because the bridge project was going better than they had anticipated and would be completed tomorrow. She hummed a cheerful song as she heard someone enter the room, but her joy vanished as soon as she turned to face him. "What do you want, Uchiha?" she said. "Well, I'm here to tell you that you will help me restore my clan," to which Sasuke responded with an evil smirk that Haku didn't like. "You have a strong family and are attractive." Haku was disgusted and said, "Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not interested." Sasuke moved closer to her, and she retreated until they hit the wall. When Sasuke reached her, he said, "That wasn't request, that was order." He grabbed her by the arms, and although Haku struggled to break free, he was obviously stronger. "Let me go." She uttered those words. Sasuke simply closed his mouth on her neck and grinned even more. "Let me go." Haku yelled 3 seconds after she yelled. Doors burst open and Zabuza was standing there scanning room. He saw Sasuke glued to Haku and in an instant was behind him and threw him off her by scrub of his shirt. What is the meaning of this? The rest of the group entered the room after he demanded in an irate tone. And Haku collapsed on the floor, sobbing, while Hinata instantly bucked out of her side and gave Sasuke a deadly glare. He sob came here to sob. Speak with me sob. He told me that I sob will be his breeding stock sob and I refused. Said Copy Looser, my nickname for Sasuke, who had picked himself up off the floor. In the meantime Haku burst into tears when he sob told her that it wasn't a request and that he sob wanted to rape her. Sasuke and Kakashi were sweating profusely from fighting ki, for unwise people ki killer intent, and the temperature in the room rapidly dropped as 3 sources of killer intent clashed. The first came from Kurenai, who hated perverts and more than perverts, she hated rapists. The second came from Naruto, for reasons we all know. And the third came from Zabuza, for reasons we do not know. Slowly, Zabuza turned to Kakashi and said, I advise you to put your Uchiha pet on a leash, Kakashi, or I'll use just his head to do it myself. Haku needs to rest, so everyone should leave the room immediately. All but Naruto and Hinata departed. When they stayed, there were raised eyebrows, but there was no response. Sasuke was planning how he would win those girls back because he was furious that another girl had rejected him. On bridge the following day, as our heroes were leaving, the entire town gathered. Their faces were plastered with smiles. Inari sobbed as she ran to embrace Naruto. Team 8 members Zabuza, Haku, and Saiko all grinned as Naruto simply said, Inari, it's okay to cry when you're happy, while Kakashi and Kiba showed no response. Sakura was caught between agreeing and scoffing with Sasuke. Inari begged, you will come again, right Ni-san? Inari nodded, and Naruto ruffled his hair before turning around. In teams 7 and 8, along with the Nano Soldier and both missed Nin. Left Wave Country via bridge. Yeah, I promise I will come see again. Be a good guardian to your mother, K? Naruto said. After 3 days, as the gates of Konoha came into view, the group sped up a bit. Haku gazed in wonder at the great gate in the mountain beyond it, and Naruto laughed at her expression as he reflected on their final goodbye to Zabuza. No jutsu flashback. Well, Kakashi, Kurenai, this is where our path parts, Zabuza said as the group of shinobi reached a crossroads. I'm going to return to Kiri from here. Haku gazed at Zabuza with a puzzled expression, unsure whether to accompany her to Kirigakure or Naruto to Konohagakure. Haku, I'm not one to make decisions for you, he said with a smile when he saw it. Do what your heart tells you to do. She gave it some thought, and something deep inside her told her to go with Naruto. Zabuza, who could tell how she was feeling, said, go with him. I'm glad for you. Can I talk to you, Naruto? Then he inquired. When Zabuza turned to face Naruto, he said, I'm leaving Haku with you, and Naruto followed him to a small group of trees. I'm hoping you'll bring her joy. Is it correct to say that they will only find fragments of you if you broke her heart? Naruto laughed and said, yeah, I understand. Zabuza grinned at this comment, saying, yeah, I know you know Zabuza, you now sound like father now. I never considered her a tool, you know. I hope you will try your hardest to keep her safe because I think of her as my daughter. Naruto nodded, and the two of them went back to the group. Be happy in Konoha, you too, and I hope to see you again soon, Zabuza concluded after bidding Haku and Saiko farewell. As soon as we decide on a date, I will send out wedding invitations. Goodbye, she yelled, leapt to trees, and approached him. Flashback. Jutsu never stops. When he pictured Zabuza in a tux for his wedding, Naruto almost passed out with laughter. They proceeded to the gate, but Izumo and Katetsu stopped them, shouting, halt, state your business. Teams 7 and 8 returning from mission along with Momochi Haku, who wishes to join Konoha and, if I understand correctly, subordinate of Naruto codenamed Saiko, Kakashi responded. Kakashi knocked on the door and waited for the Hokage to let them in. After both guards eyed the group and let them in, they then proceeded to Hokage Tower, ignoring crowds that gave them loving, questioning, or, in Naruto's case, hateful looks. Sarutobi Hiruzen was seen by the group inside the office reading some important documents while 3 shadow clones completed the rest of the work. He looked up from the documents and said, Team 7 and Team 8 inches, I assume the mission was successful. Who are the 2 people with you? The mission was successful. Hi Hokage-sama, and those 2 are Momochi Haku and Michael Sykes, also known as Saiko. They want to join the village, explained Kakashi. Sarutobi arched an eyebrow and asked him to elaborate for another half hour. Kakashi, occasionally assisted by Kurenai, described how everything transpired, from the encounter with the demon brothers to the humiliation of Zabuza to the bridge massacre. Alright, I'll welcome Saiko and Haku into our ninja community. Do you know what rank you are in? Well, I'm at last Chunin level, Haku said in response to Hiruzen's question. However, I'd like to be a medic nin and have complete medical training. Hiruzen nodded in agreement and waited for Saiko to say, I believe I was on par with Prophet in terms of weaponry when I last saw him. Haku-chan and Zabuza have given me some basic instruction on how to use chakras, but nothing exceptional. I believe I can be classified as a long-range assassin, or as you call it, Anbu Black Ops, if you teach me more about using chakra and if your R&D department can build me some sniper rifles and scars. Additionally, I have excellent stealth skills, Saiko summed up. Yeah, I know that stealth with those suits is extreme, said Sarutobi, laughing. After completing the paperwork, Sarutobi said, well, now it only is remaining question where you will live. Hiruzen concluded, observing Naruto. Naruto-kun here had clone cloaked in my office all day and I only found out when he said clone to show itself. Needless to say, Team 7 and Kakashi picked their jaws from the floor, while Team 8 wasn't surprised as they already knew and Saiko with Haku didn't know why it was so shocking. Nervously, Naruto inquired, Gigi, why do you stare at me? Hiruzen nodded and said, okay, I'll take them in. I hope you're not suggesting that they'll live with me. However, don't assume that it will work again the next time, okay? Nah, Naruto-kun. I don't hope for it. Naruto sighed in defeat. Would you kindly go now and show your father's mansion to your hosts? Naruto nodded once more, and Sarutobi brushed them off. Yeah, I realize I didn't say he lives in his father's mansion mostly because I got an idea just 5 minutes ago and thought about verbalizing it. After everyone had left, Naruto took his new visitors to his house, where they were greeted by Haku and Shicho, who were shocked to see that his house was a freaking compound rather than a mansion. I know what you think, he said. I had the same thought when I first walked in, but it's really large because a whole clan lived here before they were destroyed in battle. The devastation of Uzu and my mother's near death were the final straws for my father, who then slaughtered nearly half of the Iwa army in a single battle. After a while, my mother and father moved in together, and they remained there until Yoko-san was forced to attack 12 years ago, Naruto remarked. The other two simply nodded, and Naruto led them inside, where they found a pleasant living room that was connected to the kitchen, a sliding panel that led to the hall, and stairs on the second floor. Naruto said, my room is at the end of the hall. You can sit next to me, Saiko, and across from me. Haku-chan mother made it when she was engaged to her father and wanted to sleep in a different room or needed some alone time. With the exception of the kitchen and living room, the rest of the house lacks a certain something. Blonde then showed them their rooms and allowed them to unpack. Later, they gathered in the living room to talk about their adventures. Naruto opened the doors when someone knocked, and to his surprise, Hinata was standing there. Hinata-chan? Why are you here? Hey Naruto-kun, said Naruto, and Hinata gave him a cheek kiss while grinning. I came here to tell you something and to check on Haku-chan's happiness in her new house. Can I come in? She inquired. With a nod, Naruto ushered her into the living room, where he said, hey Hinata-chan. Haku also greeted her, where she sat on one side of Naruto and Haku on the other. Well, Haku-chan, how are you? This place is amazing, Haku said with a gentle smile in response to Hinata's question. I never imagined this place would be so lovely, the Ice Maiden remarked. The rest of the village is also fantastic, but not as much as Naruto-kun's house. Oh Naruto-kun, father wishes you to have dinner with us tomorrow, Hinata said as she leaned on Naruto's shoulder and recalled something. I don't know why, because all I told him was that we were teammates, she told the blonde. After acknowledging with a nod, Naruto and Hinata talked about various topics until Hinata had to leave for home. Haku and Saiko planned to have dinner with Hyugas tomorrow before she went to bed. The following day he called it a match. Naruto and Haku were practicing taijutsu in the backyard of the house when Haku threw a right hook at him, which he blocked, and then a kick to the stomach with his arm blocking his vision. Naruto missed the kick and was flung to the tree. He rolled to the side to avoid the kick, which should have cracked his ribs at last. Haku-chan, your taijutsu is superb. However, you still need to make some minor adjustments if you ask Saiko to teach you SAS hand-to-hand combat techniques. I believe it should work. Let's move on to ninjutsu, though. Enough about this, Haku-chan. Tell me which jutsu you know, please, Naruto said. Well, I know a few Suiden jutsu in addition to my few Hyouten jutsu that I made. That's the only jutsu I have, Haku said, keeping her head down. I know some strong water jutsu I could teach you, Naruto said, striking a thinking pose. Haku-chan, you can control the water and wind chakras with your Kekkei Genkai, correct? Well then I can teach you some wind jutsu because I myself am wind affinity with water as my second affinity, Naruto said, and Haku nodded in perplexity. Thank you, Naruto-kun, Haku said as he suddenly found himself on the ground. Hugging him, she kissed him on the cheek and said, I love you. Naruto blushed. Well, hee, you see, it's no problem, Haku-chan. She raised an eyebrow at Naruto and said, "And that's why I love you, Naru-kun. I would do anything for my precious people, Naru-kun." "That's nice." Haku blushed as he replied, "I suppose it settled Haku Haim." After that, they both got up and trained until noon. After eating lunch, Naruto took a shower and took it easy in order to get ready for his dinner with Hyuga at 5 o'clock. He left his house wearing his black pants and black shirt, his cloak with the golden Kaobi and the demon fox kanji on the back. When he noticed Konohamaru being held by an odd young man wearing a black suit, a headband from Suna, a wrapped bundle on his back, and cat-like ears and a paint-masked face, he hurried over to them and yelled, "Hey you makeup freak, put Konohamaru down now." "And why should I now?" the child asked, turning on Naruto when he saw a girl wearing a battle kimono with blonde hair tied in 4 ponytails and a fan on her back. Naruto quietly unzipped his suit and said, "Put him down or you will regret it." "Kankuro, stop it now." "Aw come on Tamari, you're no fun," whined Kankuro. When a pebble struck his hand, causing him to miss, Kankuro threw a punch at Naruto, which he didn't bother to dodge because of the suit's active silent armor mode. "You should listen to Dobi Makeup Boy," snorted Sasuke, standing on a nearby tree branch. "Thanks Ni-san." Konohamaru then yelled in pain and dropped him. Tamari, Kankuro, and Naruto all thought, "Show off." Kankuro then picked up a big bundle on his back and laid it on the ground in front of him. "Kankuro, you're a disgrace for the village." The voice behind Sasuke was emotionless, and Uchiha nearly leapt into the air as he chastised himself for not seeing him. "It's not my fault, Gaara. You see those brats here," perspired Kankuro, but Gaara cut him off, saying, "Shut up or I will kill you." He then vanished in a whirlpool of sand and resurfaced in front of Suna Nins, facing Naruto and saying, "Sorry for trouble they made." Kaobi, who was looking into Naruto's eyes, then chose to say, "Kid, this boy is the same as you." "You mean he's a demon sealed inside him?" "Yeah, from what I can tell he's bloodthirsty, is suffering from insomnia, and judging by the gourd on his back, he can control sand. Ikibi no Shukaku, I believe, is sealed inside of him. Although Guy has always been insane, he never went to the extreme. When his Jinchuriki experienced sleeplessness, Kaobi concluded that someone had to tamper with the seal or apply a berserk seal to it." When Sasuke leapt next to Naruto and the Suna team turned to go, Naruto nodded in his head. "Wait, what's your name and what are you doing here?" Sasuke demanded, and Tamari turned on him, asking, "You mean me?" Gaara then turned against him, saying, "Not you, the one with the gourd on his back. Sabaku no Gaara, and we were here for Chunin exams. What are your 2 names?" In response, he asked. Sasuke grinned and said, "Uchiha Sasuke." Naruto closed his eyes and said, "Namikaze Naruto," after Sasuke finished speaking. "Oh, and Gaara." He opened his now crimson eyes, which had slits for pupils. 2 pieces of advice. Tell Tanuki to calm down and don't kill any Konoha nins. If you don't complete one of those tasks, Q will have your ass aim. Clearly defined Gaara, who was shocked when the voice in his head went completely silent, simply nodded and departed with his siblings after he said, "I'm releasing killer intent." When Sasuke insisted, Naruto likewise turned to leave. "Hey Dobi, where are you going at?" Naruto gave him a savage glare, saying, "That is not your concern, Tem. I can't imagine someone wanting to meet with you. Do me a favor and go play with the Itachi doll," he said emphatically before turning to leave. While Naruto arrived at the Hyuga compound's gates, guards gawked at him and asked, "What do you want?" Sasuke, who was furious inside, also left in the direction of the Hokage tower. "I was informed yesterday that Lord Hiashi wants me to have dinner with him and his family as teammate of his eldest," Naruto said politely in response to a harsh question. The second guard entered the compound, looking surprised by the young blonde's polite tone, and said, "Wait here, please, I will inform Lord Hiashi." 5 minutes later, he returned and said, "Hiashi-sama has sent me to escort you to him. Follow me, please." When they reached the Hyuga compound's labyrinthine of walls, the guard eventually paused at the sliding doors and declared, "Hiashi-sama is here. I'll go back to the gate." The guard bowed and turned to go, and Naruto knocked on doors before entering the room quickly. When Hiashi noticed Naruto, he said, "Ah, welcome to our home Naruto-san," as he sat at a table with his second daughter Hanabi beside him. "I'm glad you agreed to join me for dinner. Hinata will be here shortly, so please take a seat." "My Hiashi-sama is pleasure," Naruto said. Bowing to Hiashi, "Could you tell me what you need? I would prefer to explain it after dinner if you don't mid." "As you wish, Hiashi-sama." Hiashi simply grinned. "Yeah, I know that most stories about the Hyuga clan are largely emotionless, but this is my story, and they show emotions, so bite me." Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. He sat across from Hiyashi, and a few minutes later, he heard the door behind him open, and Hiyashi said, "Ah, you're finally here, Hinata." Naruto turned around, and his mouth fell open in front of him. Hinata was standing there in a light lavender kimono with a petal pattern that accentuated her smooth curves and, for a girl her age, slightly developed breasts. She had little to no makeup, and her cheeks were adorned with adorable blush. Her blush increased slightly when she saw Naruto's reaction, which began to droll at this point, but he restrained himself for a few seconds, hoping Hiyashi didn't notice. Unfortunately, Hiyashi noticed but remained silent, and Naruto was able to escape. "Hi Hinata-chan. You look beautiful." Hinata blushed a little more, and she said, "Thanks Naruto-kun." She then moved across the room and sat next to her father as well as her sister. A few servants then brought food and served it to them, and while they were eating, Naruto stole glances at Hinata, which Hiyashi also noticed and couldn't help but smile. "I think you both are wondering why Naruto is here, aren't you?" Hiyashi said, folding his arms at the table. After dinner both of them nodded. "Excellent. But let me ask you a few questions first. Do you know who your father is, Naruto?" "Good now. I noticed some hints during meal, but I still ask," Naruto said, raising an eyebrow in perplexity but nodding nonetheless. "Are you attracted to my daughter?" Why yes sir, I have feeling for your daughter." Hiyashi turned on Hinata, and Naruto responded, "And you, my daughter, do you have feelings for Naruto-san here?" Both Naruto and Hinata began to perspire a little. Why yes, Oto-san, I do have feelings for Naruto-kun," Hinata said with a trembling smile. Both of the teenagers were unnerved by Hiyashi's smile. "Good, I have to tell you something. Prior to Naruto's birth, his father and I were close friends and former teammates. Therefore, we made the decision to arrange for our firstborn children to marry each other. To put it another way, Naruto and Hinata were engaged from the moment of your birth." The room was quiet for a moment before two cries of "Nani?" caused the entire compound to tremble. "Yes, you are engaged," Hiyashi said, laughing at their responses. "However, you both still have to wait until you are 16 before you can get married." The two teenagers exchanged a smile before Naruto got up, walked around the table, and planted a kiss on Hinata's lips. Hanabi grimaced, and Hiyashi grinned once more. At this point, there was another knock on the doors, and a servant came in, bowed, and said, "I apologize for the interruption, but the messenger had brought a message about an urgent council meeting. Additionally, he was searching for your daughter Hinata-sama and one Uzumaki Naruto." Hiyashi nodded, and the servant bowed before departing. Without bothering to change, Hinata and Hiyashi left the Naruto compound and headed toward the Hokage tower. When they reached the doors to the council room, Naruto frowned upon seeing Saiko and Hiku standing there. He then entered the room and growled, causing Sasuke, who was sitting next to Homura, to lick his lips in response to Hinata's next growl. Naruto, Hiku, and Saiko waited near the doors, while Hiyashi sat in his seat with his daughter by his side. When Sarutobi arrived, he sat in his seat and asked, "What does this mean?" "We have a few matters which have arisen," Homura responded, drawing a few eyebrows from the council's shinobi side. "Which are they?" "First, we'd like to announce the marriage of Hyuga Hinata and Momochi Hiku with Uchiha Sasuke," said Kaharu smugly, to which Hiyashi instantly yelled, "What? I would never allow my own daughter to wed someone like that Uchiha. Additionally, she is already engaged to someone." Homura frowned in response. "Really, and to whom?" Sarutobi then said, "I am afraid but Hiku-san is also betrothed to someone already." The civilian side scowled at this but remained silent, while Hiyashi smiled and said, "I will tell you if today will be his name mentioned. Mizukage sent me a letter today expressing his desire to marry me in order to fortify our alliance." Kaharu grinned and asked, "What's wrong?" Sarutobi rubbed his temples and said, But they requested a specific person. We can marry her to Uchiha-sama." They asked for a Namikaze clan heir. Immediately, a number of civilian cries erupted. "Minato-sama had a son? He must be found," and a few other speeches along these lines. After a few minutes, Naruto began to laugh, drawing the council's attention. "What's funny, boy? There is no way you are son of Namikaze-sama, boy." Naruto responded, tormenting council member Haruno with a nearly identical version of Banshee's cry to the rest of the council. "Noothing, it's just 10 minutes ago you surely wanted to kill me and now you praise me," Danzo growled. Haruno, stop talking. Sarutobi decided to take action before more conflict arose and said, "Enough, I assure you that Naruto here is son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina." Hiyashi snapped at her, saying, "You're just jealous Minato chose Kushina and not you pink-haired bitch." As council ceased, Hiyashi resumed his speech, smugly saying, "Oh, and as I said before, I think it would be now appreciated to say that my daughter is betrothed to one Namikaze Naruto. Sasuke frowned at the state of affairs, expressing hope that he would finally receive that suit. Now, on to something else to get their attention. Naruto coughed. Well, I'm sorry to break Sasuke's wet dream, but you have nothing to demand from Saiko, Koharu said, adding, we would like for Uchiha-sama to receive that suit of certain Michael Sykes. Since I replaced the Prophet, he is under my command as his commander and under the Hokage as Konoha ninja. Now enraged, Sasuke got up and strode over to Naruto, saying, Dobi, I demand that you hand over to that suit now? Did you say something? Asked Naruto to wipe his ear. The Shinobi Council and Hokage perspired at this Kakashi impersonation, and Saiko laughed. He added, becoming serious, also I think Anbu won't be happy to lose best person in stealth and long-range assassination except me. Do you have any proof for your claims, boy? Danzo boastfully remarked, I bet you wouldn't be able to sneak upon me. Naruto grinned malevolently. Really? So why is my clone holding Eulax end at your vein? He asked. What do you? Danzo suddenly stopped when he felt something sharp poke him in neck and then hand going around his head materialized. This I mean additionally, I painted the entire Hokage mountain in broad daylight when I was 7 years old without getting caught until I was done without any camouflage jutsu. Naruto emphasized the word, without. As Naruto pulled out of nowhere and threw it to Hokage, the council was once again at a loss for words. Oji-san, please tell your Anbu to place this main gate. Sarutobi nodded and handed it to the Anbu, who popped beside him before departing once more in a puff of smoke. After taking out his scroll and opening his sniper rifle, Naruto threw it to Saiko, saying, Saiko, I expect you to hit the bullseye with all 3 shots. Sasuke didn't want to, but he changed his mind when Naruto pointed his pistol, which he had unsealed before meeting, in his face. Oh, and Sasuke, you have 3 seconds to put that scroll back where it was or there will be more holes in you than in cheese, Naruto said. Saiko, meanwhile, took up position at the window facing the main gate after waiting for Anbu to leave to a safe distance. He fired 3 bullets, temporarily deafening anyone who wasn't accustomed to the sound. A few seconds later, Anbu reappeared next to Hokage, holding the target, and gave it to him. Oh, and Naruto, Zabuza sent a message that weddings will be 1 month after the final round of Chunin exams this year, Sarutobi said. Gasping when he saw that all 3 shots were clean bullseyes, he then passed it to the other council members and wished he had a camera to picture a few faces on the council. Well, if it's all, I think we can cancel this meeting. This will be exactly 2 months from now. The next few days passed like water, with nothing significant happening except Sasuke trying to get his hands on the suit and Naruto's weapons, Kurenai giving them vouchers for the Chunin exam, and Saiko starting to learn about chakra from Iruka. Thus, they found themselves standing in front of the academy, where the first Chunin exam was being held. Haku squealed and hugged Naruto, and Blonde simply smiled and gave her a hug in return. Naruto nodded to Shino and Hinata, who were standing by his sides, and Team 8 followed suit, entering the building and climbing to the 2nd floor, where a large group of genins stood in front of a door that was guarded by 2 hanged Chunins. He sent a silent message to his teammates as they passed and headed for stairs leading to a different floor. He smacked himself when he heard a haughty voice from someone named Uchiha. I'm God, you're looser. Uchiha sneered at his teammates standing next to him, saying, drop the henge, idiots. Hey Teme, you idiot. That was put in place to weed out weak people so they wouldn't fail the test. So you figured it out? Smirked one of the Chunins. Sasuke retaliated with a right hook, but the green spandex wearing boy with the bowl haircut stopped both of his fists. Naruto, not wanting to get into a pointless altercation, left as the boy's teammate, a girl wearing a pink Chinese shirt and pants, reprimanded him. They were a little taken aback by the sheer number of contestants when they entered the exam room, which was finally filled with genins from Kiri, Kumo, Taki, and other villages, with the exception of Iwa, who still harbored resentment toward Konoha and his father. They were still scanning the area when a member of one of the Kiri teams approached them and said, excuse me, are you Namikaze Naruto? Genin asked, she said. Yeah, that would be me, Naruto said, nodding as Team 8 gave him a look. What are you in need of? Naruto remarked. I hope Mei isn't sick or something. Genin grinned and quickly clarified. No, Mizukage-sama is okay. She wanted to express her gratitude to you for locating her fiancé. Meeting the hero who assisted in rescuing us from the oppression of Yondaime Mizukage is also an honor. Genin bowed to Naruto. As they were talking about a few other topics, they heard the squeal, Sasuke-kun. They saw Ino nearly glued to Sasuke while Sakura tried to pry her away. They shrugged it off, noticing that Sasuke was badly beaten, and Team 8 grinned at it. Naruto kept talking to Miss Nin until they heard it again. Will you keep it down? The voice led them back to a silver-haired genin wearing a Konoha headband and glasses, Who the hell are you? I apologize for being impolite, inquired an agitated Ino. I'm Yakushi Kabuto. Is this your second year? Kabuto clarified, Kiba inquired. With Kaobi and Prophet nodding in agreement, Kabuto shook his head and said, no, it's my 7th time. No one intentionally takes an exam 7 times, he must be some spy or something, Naruto thought, as Kabuto described his information cards. Do you have any information on Sabaku no Gaara of Suna, Rock Lee of Konoha, and Uzumaki Naruto of Konoha? Sasuke inquired. Ah, you have their names, it's no fun, Kabuto sulked and drew 3 cards, saying, let's see Sabaku no Gaara, 10C ranks, 7B ranks, 1A rank. The majority of genin looked scared, but Naruto simply shrugged. Now, Rock Lee, 30D ranks, 6C ranks, and his teammates are Hyuga Neji and Higurashi Tenten. Now, this is interesting, it said he completed every mission without scratch. He is unable to use any genjutsu or ninjutsu, but his taijutsu is on par with Chunin finally, huh? Everyone turned against Naruto, who simply shrugged, after Kabuto said, there is no Naruto Uzumaki, just Naruto Namikaze, 2A ranks and 26D ranks Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata are teammates. Kabuto rubbed the side of his head and said, this is odd according to rumors, he can be completely invisible, possesses a number of odd weapons, and demonstrated Chunin level ninjutsu at his academy graduation. I am not aware of any skills he possesses additionally. There are unsubstantiated rumors that he was involved in Yondaime Mizukage's murder. Additionally, it states that his father is, bang. Kabuto's eyes narrowed as his card was shattered in 2, destroying it in the process. He then turned to see Naruto pointing his still smoking gun at his card-wielding hand. I suppose you to stop spilling secrets of other Kabuto-chan or next time you will have gender change. The silver-haired spy thought, I must warn Orochimaru-sama this Namikaze is too much enigma to attack him. On top of it he's Kyuubi no Jinchuriki. Immediately, every man in the room covered his crotch, and Kabuto began to nod viciously, not wanting to lose his manhood. Several Chunin and Junin at the front desk were spoofing, shut up and sit down maggots. My name is Morino Ibiki, and I am the proctor of the first exam. In order to receive your test, kindly take your number and locate your seat. Those who are not seated within the next 5 minutes will be automatically eliminated. You get it? Scarred Junin, wearing a trench coat down to his knees and wearing a bandana around his head, said. Mentally cursing, Naruto realized that written tests were always his weakness. Even when he was smart enough to defeat Shikamaru in shogi, he took a seat and looked around the classroom, finding Hinata seated to his left in the front row, Shino in the middle, and Naruto in the back. Ibiki explained the rules and began the test. After everyone had taken their seats, Naruto turned his paper over and read the questions. This is strange, he thought, because they said that those who were caught cheating would be disqualified, but these answers are too difficult for normal genin to answer. Wait, they didn't say that we can't cheat. We just have to make sure we aren't caught. Blonde searched his mind for any way to cheat. A half hour before the final question, Naruto dropped his pen and eased himself into his chair. He was thinking of dropping the smoke bomb and making Kage Bunshin quickly when he felt a crawling sensation on his arm. He looked at his paper and noticed a swarm of bugs there and silently made a point to thank Shino later. But first, one small rule, Ibiki said, announcing the final question. 15 minutes later, Scarred Junin dropped the bomb, and everyone except the more intelligent ones began yelling, but don't worry, those who don't answer the question correctly will lose the opportunity to take the exam forever. A few genins raised their hands, disqualifying their team as well, saying, if you choose to leave now, you can take the exam again next year. No one else wants to leave? Ibiki asked after waiting a few more minutes as he watched more and more genins depart until there were only 26 teams remaining. Glancing at genins, he met defiant eyes of one particular genin which were telling him to shove it and announce question. Well, everyone who stayed, go ahead.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.